Ladies and gentlemen, patriots and truth seekers, welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi coming to you live from just outside Chicago, and we're broadcasting worldwide right now on YouTube, Rumble, and X. This is day 85 of Donald Trump's historic reclamation of the White House, and I promise you, we're about to cover tonight will blow your mind. First, I need you to do something critical. Share the stream right now via text message to bypass the algorithm. The tech overlords don't want this information getting out, but if you text 5 friends right now, we can break through their censorship wall. We're streaming to millions worldwide, and they need to hear what we've uncovered. So, folks, this is an interactive feature on the show. It sets us apart from the dinosaur media. Throughout the show, we'll be engaging with you in the live chat, getting your reaction to today's explosive news because your voice matters here. We'll be reading your super chats and rumble rants between segments and featuring them on screen for the world to see. That's right, your comments could be broadcast globally in real time. Now, let me tell you what we've got coming up. Today's Raw Feed is packed with bombshells the mainstream media is desperately trying to hide. What have we got? Well, first, Trump has unleashed an economic shockwave that's sending globalists into absolute panic. The Sunday shows melted down as his team revealed $18 trillion has been stolen from American workers. And next, Trump and El Salvador's President Bukele declared war on border chaos. They're exposing the deliberate invasion engineered under Biden and sending MS-13 terrorists packing. Then we've got a thread that's breaking the matrix. Elon Musk for governor? Well, the petition is now officially live. The merchandise is rolling out, and the globalists are terrified of this worst-case scenario for them. We'll also dive into Trump's trade war that's sort of flipping the order on its head, the global order. American manufacturing is roaring back as foreign nations beg to negotiate. Plus, Trump just destroyed CNN on live television, and they're having a complete meltdown. Remember Jim Acosta? Well, yes, he was fired. Dana Bash, well, now she's been forced to deny that CNN hates America on live TV. It's a media bloodbath. We'll also expose the NPR and PBS scam. Taxpayer-funded brainwashing of your children is over as Trump moves to defund these woke propaganda machines. And then the invisible cage. You've been lied to your entire life about everything from breakfast to sunscreen, from breakfast to climate change even, right? We got it all. And finally, the Harvard crackdown. Trump is unleashing hell on the Ivy League, freezing billions in funding to those globalist indoctrination centers. But folks, we can't do this alone. To keep bringing you the raw, unfiltered truth, we need your support. The links to donate are in the description below. Every dollar helps us fight back against the censors and keep this information flowing freely. We've also got our YouTube channel memberships. They are now live with exclusive perks. Support the channel and receive special acknowledgement in the chat room and unlock exclusive access to the Next News team, behind-the-scenes videos you'll never see published, as well as access to the 24/7 Discord chat room where all the members hang out and share memes and videos and chat, and they do all kinds of stuff after hours. So make sure you join up and have some fun with us. And don't forget, hit the merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com for exclusive Next News swag and show off your favorite news source. Remember, your super chats get priority between segments, so if you want your voice heard loud and clear, that is the way to go. Now, buckle up, Patriots. The Raw Feed starts now. The storm is here. The truth is emerging, and you're about to witness history unfold. Let's welcome you to the show. Who do we have here? April Hauser is here. Frosty Sprinkles, Joe Carol Dodds is here. And I saw a super chat also come through. I think, let's see here. Super chat from Ronnie Lee. What's up, Ronnie Lee? Dropping $10. Love you too. And then Craig has just gifted 1 membership, and Barbara was the recipient. Welcome to the family. Juan Ruiz has now become a member for 2 months. He's at the Sentinel level. What's up, Juan Ruiz? He's going to probably start some trouble tonight. What else have we got going on in the chat room? Let's see who else is here. We got the Destroyer to all trolls. Trust the Father, trust Jesus. Sure you in the house. What's up? Duty to Rebel. Rosebud SP. We've got Julie P., Erica Cook, Keith Reitling. We've got Nancy Pelosi's liver in the house, Nitro Burp, Tom B420, Brand 47, Dora Robertson, Villain is here, Leela, Z17X Machine, Jeremy Olson, Pothead Kenny, what's up, man? Good to see you. Turbo War 75, Glocks and Grippers. We've got Last War Poodle, Lori Trucker, Heather Reeve, Michael Rock. I am Jeremy Oliver's in the house as well. ElonForGovernor.com. Yes, spoiler alert. That's where you go if you want to find out what's going on with Elon Musk. What's up, Jeremy Oliver? Who else is in the house? We got Nita Church. We've got Titan Maximum 2, Jeremy Olson, SLM in Boston, Karen Finley, Patrick Palmer. R. Boyd has been a member for 4 months at the operative level. Show the love, share the stream, and hit that like. Yes, of course. That's one way you can trigger the algorithm. We got lots of news to get to tonight, so let's just jump right into it, shall we? Waiting for Brian to load up some things here, and then we'll get started. Juan Ruiz says, let me get drunk. All right, Juan, pour out that tequila, and I'll meet you at the taco bar. Ha ha! All right. Chi City, Maria's here, Ken Olson, Heather Reeves, Shire Gold. What's up? Are you ready, Brian? Not yet. Okay, he says almost. He's almost there. Who else is in the house? Morgan Edwards, Terry Yates. Okay, I see it now. Thank you, Brian. Let's begin. Something seismic just happened on the Sunday shows. The mainstream media is desperately trying to bury President Trump's economic team dropped information so explosives that anchors were visibly shaken. We've uncovered the exact dollar amount being siphoned from American workers for decades, and it's in the trillions. How many countries are now begging to negotiate with Trump? Why are globalists panicking about his 2-minute offense strategy? And what did the producer price index just reveal that proves everything that we've been saying for years is true? Well, the economic liberation has begun, folks, and what happens next will change America's financial future forever. And as we step further into 2025, one thing is absolutely clear: de-dollarization's not stopping. It's accelerating. China and other BRICS nations are scared of President Trump, and it's making them more determined to reduce their dependence on the U.S. dollar and establish themselves as global economic superpowers. What is their secret weapon? Well, it's gold. In fact, China resumed buying gold, and you know what's even more telling? They underreport their buys. Doesn't it make you wonder why? Well, it's because they recognize its global value and ability to withstand economic shocks. Gold is a global asset with innate value. It's tangible, reliable, and immune to economic manipulation. China and other BRICS countries, they want to be prepared. They just don't want it known. So make sure you head over to nextnewsgold.com or call the number on the screen, 877-646-5347, and find out how you can secure your future with gold and receive 10 free silver coins when you do. Now let's jump right into it. We've got this from the press secretary today talking about her reaction when seeing Biden speaking.
My first reaction when seeing former President Biden was speaking tonight was, I'm shocked that he is speaking at nighttime. I thought his bedtime was much earlier than his speech tonight. I understand the topic of his speech will be Social Security. Let me make it very clear ahead of former President Biden's remarks. President Trump, is absolutely certain about protecting Social Security benefits for law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens and seniors who have paid into this program. He will always protect that program. He campaigned on it. He protected it in his first term, and he's back again to continue protecting it.
Looks like Joe Biden is going to be hitting the airwaves. Why? Because he is going to gaslight America and tell everybody that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are stealing Social Security. They're going to kill grandma. Yeah. No, don't believe a minute of it. Here we have more from the press secretary earlier today about the White House Faith Office.
Campaign trail that the president promised millions of Christians across the country on the campaign trail that he would create a White House Faith Office when he returned to the White House, and he has delivered on that promise. The White House Faith Office has put together an extraordinary week-long celebration currently underway for Holy Week ahead of Easter Sunday. The president signed a Holy Week proclamation, filmed a special presidential video message, and will be hosting a pre-Easter dinner tomorrow night and a White House staff Easter worship service on Thursday. The president and the First Lady are honored to continue the tradition of the White House Easter egg roll, which will take place on the South Lawn next Monday.
And of course, I don't think Donald Trump is going to need the Easter Bunny to give him directions on the South Lawn, right? No, that's not going to happen. President Trump knows exactly where he is. President Trump also, we got this, exhibits excellent cognitive and physical health, is fully fit to execute the duties of the commander-in-chief and head of state. Yes, he just did his cognitive exam, passed it with flying colors. Also, we've got this from Rapid Response. Quiet Part Out Loud, Representative Laura Friedman, a Democrat of California, admits House Democrats are meeting every single week behind the scenes.
Behind this, every single week, we have a litigation working group where a large group of us, and I'm talking there's maybe 75 members of the House, sit down every single week with the AGs to talk about legal strategy. This is all going on every single week behind the scenes. It is nonstop talk, nonstop introduction of bills and legislation, nonstop being on social media as much as we can without being throttled and without the crazy analytics, and doing all these things.
The only legal strategies that they need to be worried about is the ones keeping them out of prison. And then we've got this. This is Rapid Response. Donald Trump Truth Social post. Our farmers are great, but because of their greatness, they're always put on the front line with our adversaries such as China whenever there's a trade negotiation, in this case, a trade war. The same thing happened in my first term. China was brutal to our farmers. These patriots, I trust these patriots to hold on. Great trade deal was made. I rewarded our farmers with a payment of $28 billion all through the China deal. It was a great transaction for the U.S. until Crooked Joe came in and didn't enforce it. We have more here. President Trump says it's possible that income taxes could be replaced by the money brought in from tariffs. And of course, today is April 15th. It's tax day.
Money from tariffs.
Los aranceles van a reemplazar el income tax.
You're the only one that's asked me that. Oh, I deal with all these big financial geniuses. Nobody ever asked. There is a chance that the money from tariffs could be so great that it would replace, in the old days, about 1870 to 1913, the tariffs were the only form of money. And that's when our nation was relatively the richest. We were the richest.
Yeah, get rid of the IRS, get rid of the income tax, and America will be a lot better place. Here we have Dana White dishing on Bill Maher's visit to the White House, saying he was invited by Kid Rock because Kid Rock didn't want to be there by himself if this thing goes south.
Last week, I was I met with the Prime Minister of the UK, and we had a fight on Saturday. Then I flew home, and the next morning, Kid Rock is blowing my phone up, and he's like, I need some help. I just got Bill Maher and Donald Trump to have dinner together. And if this thing goes south, I don't want to be there by myself. Will you fly out here?
Well, tell me about the dinner, because this is probably the most famous dinner to happen in the past year or plus.
So the first thing that happens is Bill Maher walks in into the Oval Office, and me and the president were in there, and he has a piece of paper with every name that the president has called him over the last, however many years. There were like 100 names on this list, and it was hilarious. Thank God he had two of them, because I had them both sign it, and I'm getting it framed and hanging it in my office. But I think the coolest thing about that meeting and that dinner was two guys who have not liked each other for a very long time, two guys who have many opposing views, got together and sat down and talked, and they talked about a lot of things that they agree on and a lot of things that they disagree on. But Kid Rock and I always say, and you know this better than anybody, nobody walks into a meeting or a dinner with Donald Trump and walks out and doesn't like him. It's impossible. And if you say you don't, you're lying. You're lying. So Bill Maher walks in and he's like, first of all, the president is all over me all the time because I don't wear a suit when I go to these things. So Bill Maher walks into the Oval Office and he's like, there's no way in hell I was showing up without a suit on. And I didn't have a suit on. And Bill Maher looks at me and he goes, this is definitely from the Zelensky collection.
Oh my, that's a pretty good start. That's a good way to start.
It was hilarious. It was funny. It was fun.
The Zelensky collection. Let's get into the Sunday shows. What happened? Trump saving America from global elite control. Let's jump in. Trump humiliated the fake news. Right on Air Force One, they hate when he speaks directly to you, exposing corrupt El Salvador prison system, housing the worst criminals. Listen on Air Force One.
Okay, come on over. You know the fake news? This is the fake news.
Hey, what's up, everyone? How are you guys? Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning.
We're just doing a little news conference. You want to partake?
I'll ask some stuff.
She's a great athlete, actually, great golfer,
Yeah.
and great student, actually. So go ahead. Any other
Question. On Monday, you're having a meeting with the president of El Salvador.
Yes.
What do you want to achieve there? Do you have any concerns about that prison? People have said
No.
it has human rights abuses.
No, I think he's doing a fantastic job, and he's taking care of a lot of problems that we have that we really wouldn't be able to take care of from a cost standpoint. And he's been amazing. We have some very bad people in that prison, people that should have never been allowed into our country, people that murder, drug dealers, some of the worst people on earth are in that prison. And he's able to do that. Okay, come on.
Let's keep going. We got the bombshell. Navarro confirms what we've been screaming for years. The world has been stealing from America $18 trillion transferred to foreign powers.
Here. So this is unfolding exactly like we thought it would in a dominant scenario. What's going on here is you start with the observation. I don't think you would disagree with me at all. The world cheats us. They've been cheating us for decades. They cheat us with tariffs, higher tariffs, but more importantly, they cheat us with the so-called non-tariff barriers. It's the VAT taxes, the dumping, the currency manipulation, the technical barriers that keep our autos out of Japan, the agricultural barriers that keep our pork out of Australia or Europe. They're doing that to the tune of $1.2 trillion of wealth a year that we transfer now abroad, and $18 trillion of wealth since we started running deficits. You know how much $18 trillion of America that could buy? So that's the problem we're grappling with. So we have a strategy here where the president says we're going to charge them what they charge us. And the analytical issue is it's easy to calculate the tariff differential, but the non-tariff barriers are so much higher. So that's what we set, knowing full well that a lot of countries would come right to us and want a bargain. So this is unfolding.
$18 trillion. The non-tariff barriers he's talking about is when the other countries make excuses not to import our products. They make all kinds of reasons. Here we have more. 130 countries, or 130. Remember, like a week ago it was 50, then it was 75. Now it's 130 begging to negotiate with Trump because they're terrified.
We get tax relief. The way that I would think about it is that in the previous administration, you could sort of say, if you're thinking about it in the football analogy, is that they were running out the clock. And that what's going on now in the Trump administration is across a wide array of policy areas, we're in a 2-minute offense. And the 2-minute offense is pushing, as you've seen, the reconciliation bill through so that we get tax relief for American people, deregulation, and, of course, trade policy. Now, in the trade policy, the whole point of the trade policy is to address the national emergency that we're too dependent on foreign products in the U.S., especially if we were at a time of conflict. And we're doing something about that. And the reciprocal act was basically, guys, if you come to the table and negotiate with us and treat us the same way we treat you, then we'll get your rate really low. And so right now, 130 countries have responded, and we're negotiating with them, and they've got their rate down to 10%. And so really, it's kind of almost a two-world system. There's a process about China, and that's very, very nascent, if at all. And then the process for everybody else. So the process for everybody else is orderly. It's clear. People are coming to town with great offers. We've got Japan, Korea, India. I was just talking to the foreign minister of India, and everything is moving forward very quickly. And so I guess the bottom line is that the small business owner has experienced over the last few weeks the start of a process that's settling down really quite quickly. Again, 130 countries are at 10% now. The way
130 countries. We got this news too. Inflation plummeting, just like we reported. Oil down to $61. Largest tax cut in American history is now underway, but of course the lying media doesn't want you to know these points.
And We had really good news on the inflation front. Both the producer price index, which is wholesale prices, consumer price index, had the lowest print since fall of 2023. Really good news, and nobody expected that. And the reason why that kind of thing's happening is because the Trump policies on other fronts, oil's down to $61 a barrel. Okay, so, but the other thing, and this is like, should have been in that little package you had at the beginning, the Congress passed the resolution, the budget resolution, which lays the groundwork for having the biggest, broadest tax cut.
Did you hear what he just said? Here's some information you should have had in that package in the beginning. He's clearly referencing a news package that they put together, and they specifically omitted information. Let's go back just a hair and catch that.
The budget resolution, which lays the groundwork for having the biggest, broadest tax cut in American history before August. Now, what does that mean? What does it mean for both recession and inflation? It means that we're going to have a debt-neutral tax cut financed by tariff revenues that's going to stimulate growth. It could be worth as much of 1.5 points in terms of GDP growth. At the same time, it's deflationary, not inflationary. It's unlike the Biden fiscal measures, which were just pure debt-driven. So there's really good news here. And I predicted 50,000 on the Dow. I predicted a broad-based S&P rally. I don't know if you know this, Kristen, but it was 7 AI stocks that pulled up the S&P 500 during the Biden years. That's not growth. We had really...
And looks like the algorithm is trying to make us look like mud right now. So stay with us. The hidden truth about China and the World Trade Organization. Real wages declined for 15 years. Americans are dying of despair as globalists got rich. Trump is reversing the damage. Listen in.
That these policies, which the president successfully enacted in the first term, are going to increase the demand for labor, increase wages, up by almost $6,500 in the first 3 years of the Trump administration. And so what it means is that even if you accept the naysayers' perspective on what might happen to the price of a cup of coffee, that the person walking into the coffee shop is going to have a lot more money. In the 15 years after China entered the WTO, real wages went down. So wages went down by more than prices, as we thought these cheap goods were going to revolutionize America. In fact, it was the opposite. Welfare went down. We had Angus Deaton write a whole book about the deaths of despair that were related to this. And so I think we're very optimistic about the fact that people are going to have more money in their pockets and that they're going to have a higher standard of living.
More money in your pocket. That's all that matters, right? We got this. Decades of economic warfare against American farmers has now been exposed. Japan's 700% rice tariff. Damn. That's some expensive fried rice.
Shannon, well, first of all, I think it's really important to realize that what President Trump is doing in his vision and his leadership is to completely realign the world economy, but in so doing, put America first and therefore American farmers first. Shannon, for decades, the way that we have been treated in this country, and especially our farmers and ranchers, is absolutely stunning. We have been living under a tariff regime, but it has been the regime of other countries. You know, Japan with a 700% tariff on our rice, Brazil with that almost 20% tariff on our ethanol, which I know you were in Kansas, probably talking to some ethanol corn farmers. The EU takes less pork with 450 million people than does Honduras with 10 million people. I mean, it is one thing after another. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize how egregious it was until I took this job. I mean, I've heard President Trump talk about it for a long time. I was in his last White House as his domestic policy chief, so I was somewhat aware. But once I took the job as agriculture secretary and really began to dig in, the way our ag producers are treated across this world, both with high tariffs and with non-tariff barriers like unsubstantiated science claims, is just, it's egregious. So the president is working to fix it. I don't know that any other political leader in our lifetime would have ever been able to do what he is doing.
No, nobody had the balls to, because they were all getting kickbacks on the back end. Trump rescuing America's ethanol industry as well from globalist attack. Energy independence is non-negotiable.
Ethanol is a very, very important part of our energy independence strategy. President Trump has been unequivocal in his support for ethanol and in his support for the year-round sale for the E15. In fact, at the end of our last administration, we put that rule out. A court gutted that, so now we're working on it again. But as our incredible cabinet led by Secretary Chris Wright, Secretary Burgum on energy, Administrator Lee Zeldin, along with myself, we are hyper-focused on that energy independence. And ethanol and biofuels is a very, very important part of that. When I was in Iowa about a week and a half ago, we announced a big new grant to help build out more infrastructure for ethanol. We visited almost 10 heartland states to this point in the last 2 months. I've got another 4 or 5 coming in the next 2 weeks. So we are really focused on our row croppers, especially our corn growers, sorghum, soy, wheat, etc. But having ethanol as a key part of that strategy is really important to President Trump and the highest priority at our USDA.
All right, let's keep going. Semiconductor war has begun. Lutnick confirms special tariffs incoming. We can't depend on Southeast Asia for technology. The national security implications are staggering. American chips are coming back.
The notice that went out Friday night saying that electronics, a wide range of electronics, including smartphones, including components used to make microchips, that these are now exempt from the reciprocal tariffs. Why that move?
Well, remember, those products are going to be part of the semiconductor sectoral tariffs, which are coming. So you're going to see this week there'll be a register in the Federal Registry. There'll be a notice put out. That is different types of work. So we're going to do that. We did that in autos. The president's going to do it for pharmaceuticals, and he's going to do it for semiconductors. So all those products are going to come under semiconductors, and they're going to have a special focused type of tariff to make sure that those products get reshored. We need to have semiconductors, we need to have chips, and we need to have flat panels. We need to have these things made in America. We can't be reliant on Southeast Asia for all of the things that operate for us. So what he's doing is he's saying they're exempt from the reciprocal tariffs, but they're included in the semiconductor tariffs, which are coming in probably a month or two. So these are coming soon. You shouldn't think this is really outside of it. Really think of it as being included in the semiconductor space, much like pharmaceuticals. These require special attention, and the president is on it.
So you're saying that the big tariffs on things like smartphones and laptops, iPhones, all those iPhones built in China, that those tariffs are temporarily off, but they're going to be coming right back on in another form in a month or so? Or what are you saying?
Correct. That's right. That's right. Semiconductors and pharmaceuticals will have a tariff model in order to encourage them to reshore, to be built in America. We need our medicines and we need semiconductors and our electronics to be built in America. We can't be beholden and rely upon foreign countries for fundamental things that we need. We can't be relying on China for fundamental things that we need. Our medicines and our semiconductors need to be built in America. Donald Trump is on it. He's calling that out. So you should understand these are included in the semiconductor tariffs that are coming, and the pharmaceuticals are coming. Those two areas are coming in the next month or two. So this is not like a permanent sort of exemption. He's just clarifying that these are not available to be negotiated away by countries. These are things that are national security that we need to be made in America.
And we have more from Howard Lutnick. American farmers getting access to India for the first time ever. Wow.
And that there's 4,000 high-tech jobs in Kansas. That is what's coming back to America. You're going to see that production, that kind of high-tech factory is going to produce things here at very reasonable prices. So I think this is going to work out. Plus, our farmers are going to finally have access to the world's markets. You know, our farmers have never had the opportunity to sell corn in India. So what's going to happen is as they sell more and more products, prices will come down.
I mean, Mr. Secretary,
gets lower prices. You're going to see lower prices in America on lots of different products. There's 4,000.
Imagine that. Opening up India to the corn market of the United States is going to be huge. Here we have more. The Constitution gives Trump the power to save us from foreign domination. We will not be workers for the global elite. Make medicine and steal in America.
The president.
How concerned are you, and are you prepared to defend this in court? As you know, there's already at least one court challenge to the constitutionality of these tariffs.
The president knows the law. The president's general counsels know the law. They understand this, that Congress has passed laws that gave the president the ability to protect our national security. We need to make medicine in America. If you don't think that's national security, you're not thinking it through. We need to make semiconductors in America. We need steel and aluminum in America. We need to manufacture in America. If we just run gigantic trade deficits and sell our soul to the rest of the world, eventually we are going to be the worker for the rest of the world. We're going to be the thinker for the rest of the world, but they're going to manufacture. And if someday they say, gee, we're not sending it to you, we'll be nothing. So I think the president has national security in mind, and he's here to protect America. We need to reshore these things, and we all know it. So it is vital for us to reshore it, and we know it.
No exemptions on Trump's plan to defeat Chinese economic warfare. The media lying about his strategy. Every import pays at least 20%. Critical components getting special treatment to reshore production. 5D chess. Here's Stephen Miller.
You were targeting specific items from day one. Walk us through these exemptions, Stephen, and what they mean.
Yes, this is just another great example of how President Trump had a detailed plan from the beginning that's being executed exactly as directed. And unfortunately, some in the media are deliberately misportraying that plan. The original 20% IEPA, that's the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, for China poisoning our citizens with fentanyl, that 20% rate is and continues to be applied to all imports from China. When the president issued his reciprocal tariffs, our government at the time specifically said that chips and semiconductors, which are critical components of our national security, were going to be dealt with through a separate commerce authority known as a 232. That was always the plan because those components are so essential to our national security. We need to have a separate process for dealing with how to reshore those essential industries. When the tariff rate went up to the full rate of 125 on top of the 20, it was necessary to publish a more detailed list from Customs and Border Protection explaining the rates and how they're applied. There are no exemptions. Everyone pays at least the 20%, and these particular components are being put through a separate process controlled by the Department of Commerce, which is the 232. So this is a sophisticated, elegant, detailed plan to deal with Chinese economic aggression against the United States.
History in the making. Trump saving the West from complete economic domination. The globalists tried to sell us out, but he's fighting back. This is the beginning of our economic liberation.
Domination. History will record that the actions President Trump has taken in recent days were the beginning of saving the West from complete economic domination by another power. History.
The evidence is clear. Trump's economic genius is saving America. And what the media isn't telling you is how deep this globalist economic warfare goes. Japan taxes our rice at 700%. Okay? Brazil blocks our ethanol. The EU rejects our pork. But Trump's fighting back. American farmers just got access to India for the first time ever. 4,000 high-tech jobs are returning to Kansas, and Trump just dropped a Moab. He's considering replacing the income tax with tariff revenue. Think about that. No more IRS, just foreign countries paying for access to our markets. The globalists are in full-blown panic mode because their entire system of economic extraction is crumbling in real time. So here's my question for you. Is Trump's economic strategy the greatest transfer of power back to the American worker in our lifetime? Drop a comment below. And grab your Next News gear at our merch shop. It's linked in the description at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right. I saw some super chats come through and some song requests. You guys are off the chain already. I don't know what. Oh, what is it? What? Okay. Juan Ruiz just gifted 5 Next News Network memberships. Jersey Girl, designed by Phoebe, Janie McKinley, and Yvonne, and 13 Carolas just received a membership. Kiwi just became a member. What's up, Kiwi? Tony Leitner, I just wanted to show my appreciation. Thank you, Tony, for that $5. David Guthrie dropping $10 in the Alex Jones was right jar. Screw all foreign countries, he says. And Craig dropping $5 for a song request from Nitro Burp. Which side are you on? Which side are you on? Yes, okay, there you go. All right, you got it. You got it. You got it. You ask for it. You ask, and you shall receive, especially when you drop a super chat. Okay. All right, let's keep going. We got some more news to get into, and this is all good stuff, folks. All good stuff. Okay, let's go. An extraordinary meeting just took place in the Oval Office that the fake news networks don't want you to know about. President Trump and El Salvador's President Bukele revealed classified information about Biden's border disaster that'll make your blood run cold. How many known murderers crossed our border under the previous administration? What did Bukele say is necessary to liberate 350 million Americans? And why are border crossing statistics being hidden from the public? What we've uncovered shows this wasn't incompetence, it was deliberate. The partnership forming between these two leaders has globalists terrified, and tonight we're exposing everything they don't want you to know. Now, you want to make a real difference in America's future while earning from home? Well, Patriot Switch NNN.com is launching a project that's perfectly timed with Trump's border security revolution. As we watch these criminal aliens get deported, we need to rebuild our American workforce. This trusted American-made brand is offering patriots like you a legitimate home-based opportunity. No commute, no hassle, just support your family while supporting American manufacturing. Now, here's the thing. They're hosting an exclusive Zoom call that reveals all of the details, the income potential, and how you'll be part of rebuilding our economic security as we close the border for good. You can register now at PatriotSwitchNNN.com while spots remain open. You'll find the link in the description, so act quickly. Let's jump into this. We've got Tom Homan at the White House earlier today, talking about when he started back in 1984 and now comparing that to the numbers.
Increased border apprehensions by 95% since last March. Can you describe maybe some of the success behind these numbers?
Because I worked for the greatest president of my lifetime, Donald Trump. Trump 45 is successful, unprecedented. And we're even doing better this time. President Trump, I give him all the credit because he put executive actions in place day one. He re-implemented the policies that we proved were effective. Right now, as we speak today, because of President Trump, the men and women of ICE and the men and women of the Border Patrol who stand on that line every day, today we have the most secure border in the history of this nation. No one can argue it. The data's clear on that. I started in 1984. I've never seen the numbers this low. So again, the most secure border in the history of this nation, President Trump was able to do that in a matter of weeks. Something that Biden administration didn't do in 4 years. Either wouldn't or couldn't, but we proved it didn't need legislation, didn't need all this other stuff that the last administration talked about. We needed a strong president who took America first and cared about American safety and securing that border. Securing the border at this level means we have a lot stronger national security because of the border.
It blows my mind to consider just the amount of damage that Joe Biden and his administration did to this country. It's absolutely treasonous. Here's more from Tom Homan on Fox News talking about the safest and most secure border in history.
Now, March encounters at the southern border down 95% from March of last year. Let's bring in White House border czar Tom Homan. Tom, thank you so much for being here. It appears all of your efforts are working here. Now, why is it that you've been able to secure the border in this way and the previous administration was not?
Because I work for the greatest president of my lifetime, Donald Trump. He proves it every day. He proves every day that he's the greatest president in the history of this nation, because he took the effort. Day one, he knew what he had to do, because he did it during Trump 45, putting out executive orders, remain in Mexico, the third safe country agreements, end, catch, and release. And plus, he's got this out-of-the-box thinking, as he always does, bringing the whole of government to securing the border, including DOD. Right now, today, as I'm talking to you, we have the safest, most secure border in the history of this nation, because of President Trump and the men and women of the Border Patrol, who are doing a great job, men and women of ICE doing a great job every day. Most secure border in history right now because of these efforts.
Marching count.
Most secure border in history. Let's keep going. Here's the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Okay, talking about this Maryland man. You hear about the Maryland man? Yeah. This is not a Maryland man. This is an illegal alien from El Salvador.
13. Jesse, you know, when you're listening to all these liberal reporters, they keep calling him a Maryland man. He's not a Maryland man. He's part of a foreign terrorist organization. He's a member of MS-13 who, as you laid out in your monologue, came to this country and committed just gang acts. He was caught, and he was two judges, an immigration judge and an appellate judge, ruled that he was an MS-13 member as well.
Okay, so I want you to keep in mind that right now we're watching the Attorney General Pam Bondi talking about the Maryland man, right? The Maryland man. What does she say?
Caught, and he was two judges, an immigration judge and an appellate judge, ruled that he was an MS-13 member as
a MS-13 member. Now, I want you to see this. Here's a clip that was just posted. Harrison Fields, who I've met and spoken with at the White House a number of times, going on News Nation. Now, he works in the press communications office at the White House, and here he absolutely roasts this News Nation reporter over the Maryland man. This is absolute, I mean, it's a bloodbath on News Nation, what he does to her.
That man and said the reality is this wasn't a Maryland father. This was a El Salvadorian man who was illegally in this country, who was affiliated with MS-13.
There is no
Let's
evidence
set the
to that.
record straight
There's
about
no,
who this person is.
There's no evidence that he was a gang member.
With all due respect, if the Department of Justice has come out and said that he has gang affiliations, just like the same man who killed Rachel Morin had gang affiliations. So you would have told me before Rachel Morin's death, you would have defended that man and said he had no gang affiliations, and he went on to kill Rachel Morin. So instead of defending this gentleman, talk about who he actually is and talk about the risk in keeping illegal criminals in this country. This is exactly what President Trump was elected to do, to return these people back to their home countries, and that's what he did.
We're not defending him. I'm going to reiterate that is unsubstantiated. There is no evidence of him being a gang member. He is married to a U.S. citizen, and he...
You hear what she's saying? There's no evidence. I think we just heard the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, just declare it. Two judges. News Nation. You seeing this?
There is no evidence of him being a gang member. He is married to a U.S. citizen, and he was in this country legally. Okay, but we don't know if he was
being married does not make you not a gang member.
There's no evidence. We're going to move on. There's no evidence that he was a gang member, and I want to reiterate that to our viewers.
The Department of Justice came out and said there was credible evidence that he was a member or affiliated with
You said he's a gang member, and he wasn't
fact.
legally allowed to be here, which, again, he was legally allowed to be here. And he is married to an American citizen.
You can hold court for him all you want. He's no longer in this country.
All right.
The Americans are safer because of it.
And to go back to the original question, so right now the White House seems to be doing nothing about getting him back, and that's fine. I'm going to move on.
He's an illegal immigrant. He was here illegally with deportation orders in 2019. What part of that do you not understand?
I understand the story very well, and I'm going to stop going back and forth with you on this, but I will say, again, he had every right to be in this country. Is there any scenario under which
he did not. He was an illegal immigrant.
We're going to move on this.
No, I will not let you go forward.
Okay.
He was an illegal alien in this country with a deportation order in 2019. He is an El Salvadorian citizen. If you are not a citizen of the United States States of America here illegally, there are grounds to deport you, in which happened recently.
This again, unsubstantiated. Those are not the facts, but I will move on. President Trump.
No, those are the facts, honey. And if there's anybody, if Caroline Leavitt needs a break, call up Harrison, dude. This guy could hang with the best of them right there, and you just saw it. 2 men reported ties to Trende Aragua, arrested for allegedly kidnapping, torturing, and shooting a woman in Washington. They reportedly abducted an 58-year-old woman. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Are just shocking. 2 men are facing charges in the disturbing kidnapping and torture of a Burien woman. Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Preston Phillips.
And I'm Mary Num. The victim told police she was forced into a car as she was arriving home from work, and what happened next nearly killed her. It's a case investigators have been trying to solve for months.
KOMO's Jeremy Harris live tonight with the story in Burien. And Jeremy, the allegations here are just shocking.
Preston, and they came to light today in charging documents that were just filed here in King County that allege 2 men came up with a plan to kidnap a woman, steal her car and jewelry, and then kill her, but she survived. This is the Burien apartment complex where police say 2 men kidnapped the woman as she was getting home from work. From here, investigators say the men used a power drill on the woman's hands, threatened her, and eventually drove her here to the mountains near Snoqualmie Pass, where they forced her over a Jersey barrier and then shot her. She told police she played dead and waited for the men to leave before flagging down help. After months of work from the King County Sheriff's Office and the FBI, 2 men, Alexander Arnaez and Kevin Sanabria, are now in custody, charged with kidnapping, robbery, and attempted murder.
While in that vehicle, they used a power drill to drill into her hand to get access to her cell phone as well as bank accounts. There were threats made during this time as well to kill the victim, kill her family, feed her to the bears.
Investigators noted in their report that the victim and witnesses had extreme fear of retaliation, noting one of the men has possible ties to a Venezuelan gang.
2 men are facing charges in the
possible ties to a Venezuelan gang. Yeah, let's see them go. Here's more. We have the press secretary 5 hours ago announcing that POTUS will be signing an order aimed at stopping illegal immigrants from obtaining Social Security numbers.
Eligible people. On the topic of Social Security, I have...
Like, why do we just need to sign an order for that?
On the topic of Social Security, I have some news before I let you all go. Later this afternoon, the president will be signing a presidential memorandum aimed at stopping illegal aliens and other ineligible people from obtaining Social Security Act benefits. The memorandum will direct the administration to ensure ineligible aliens are not receiving funds from the Social Security Act programs. It will expand the Social Security Administration's fraud prosecutor program to at least 50 U.S. attorney offices and establishes a Medicare and Medicaid fraud prosecution program in 15 U.S. attorney offices. The memorandum will also require the Social Security Administration Inspector General to investigate earning reports for individuals aged 100 or older with mismatched Social Security records to combat identity theft. And the memorandum will direct the Social Security Administration to consider whether to reinstate the use of civil monetary penalties against individuals who engage in Social Security fraud, an effort that has been paused for several years. These taxpayer-funded benefits should be only for eligible taxpayers. And President Biden should think about what he did in his last term, which is allow tens of millions of illegal people into our country, many of whom were fraudulently receiving these benefits. So
now let's go to the meeting, the bombshell meeting the fake news refuses to give you the truth about. Trump and El Salvador's Bukele exposing the entire border catastrophe. It happened yesterday. You have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. That was Bukele to Trump. El Salvador went from murder capital to safest in the Western Hemisphere while Biden destroyed our borders. Here's what Bukele said. To liberate 350 million Americans, you have to imprison the criminals. And I'll add, not defund the police, right?
Even young Mr. President, it's an honor to have you. Thank you. You're doing incredibly for your country. And we appreciate working with you because you want to stop crime, and so do we. and it's very, very effective. And I want to just say hello to the people of El Salvador and say they have one hell of a president. Okay, and I mean that, and I know him well. I know him as a very young man, Marco, even younger than you. You know, he started pretty young.
He'll always be younger.
Young at heart. But I want to thank you for the great job you're doing. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be here in the Oval Office with the President and leader of the free world. We're very happy, and we're very eager to help. We know that you have a crime problem, a terrorism problem that you need help with. And we're a small country, but if we can help, we will do it. And we actually turned the murder capital of the world, that was the journalists call it, right? Murder capital of the world, into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere. And, you know, sometimes they say that we imprisoned thousands. I like to say that we actually liberated millions. So, you know, like,
it's very good. Who gave him that line? Do you think I can use that?
And in fact, Mr. President, you have 350 million people to liberate. Yeah. But to liberate 350 million people, you have to imprison some. You know, that's the way it works, right? You cannot just, you know, free the criminals and think crime's going to go down magically. You have to imprison them so you can liberate 350 million Americans that are asking for the end of crime and the end of terrorism. And it can be done. I mean, you're doing it already. And I'm sure that people have seen the change in the streets. A long way to go because you're just initiating your second term. But it's clear that, you know, with the numbers at the border, you know, even in Democrat-run cities, they get a help from the work you're doing. So I'm really happy to be here, honored, and eager to help. Mr. President.
Trump dropping truth bombs. 11,088 known murderers came in under Biden.
To come in freely. Well, we had a terrible thing happen. We had an administration that allowed people to come in freely into our country from not only South America, but from all over the world. Many from the Congo in Africa, Asia, all over the world, Europe, rough parts of Europe. And they came from prisons, and they came from mental institutions, and they came from gangs, and the gangs of Venezuela and other places. And hundreds of thousands and even millions of them came. 21 million people altogether, but many of the people that came, just a tremendous percentage of them were criminals, in some cases violent criminals. We had 11,088 known murderers. Half of them murdered more than one person. This was allowed by a man who, what he did to our country is just unbelievable. So we're straightening it out. We're getting them out. But what they did and what that party did to our country, open borders, anybody could come in. As soon as I heard that, I said, every prison's going to be emptied out into our country. That's what happened. And we're straightening it out. And we just had numbers. We had the highest recruiting numbers in the history of our country going into police departments. And a year ago, we had the lowest numbers. You couldn't hire a biggest change. Yeah. Nobody's ever seen lowest of the highest. And the military now, Marines, the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, every slot is, I mean, we have the best numbers we've ever had. We call it recruitment numbers. And we've never had anything like it. We had records on at every single level. But very important, the policemen. The policemen are joining forces now. That we really were having a hard time with policemen because we weren't protecting our police. Yeah.
More numbers the media won't show you. Border crossings down 99.1% under Trump.
Actually, what you're doing with the border is remarkable. It has dropped, 95%? It's incredible.
As of this morning, 99%, 99.1%. To be exact.
Why are those numbers not in the media?
Well, they get out with the fake news, you know, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually. But it's a shame. You're right. Isn't that a great question? Why doesn't the media? Why don't they put out numbers?
Yeah, 9%. I mean, it's crazy, right?
We're doing
a crazy turnaround.
Christy, could you maybe say a couple of words about the border? How we're doing?
You know, it's just been absolutely phenomenal what a great leader can do. Clear direction. Our laws matter. We should only have people in our country that love us, and the Border Patrol and our ICE officers and law enforcement officers have done fantastic work. So we're proud of them. Now we just need to get the criminals and murderers and rapists and dangerous gang members and terrorist organizations out of our country. So, Mr. President Bukele, we thank you very much for your partnership. It has been wonderful for us to be able to have somewhere to send the worst of the worst and someone to partner with. And we'd like to continue that partnership.
It's great to have a place where we can send the worst of the worst. We're sending them back to your country. You deal with them. I mean, just think about it. I don't know. It just sounds crazy. Thanks for taking our trash. Thanks for taking your garbage back.
Because it's been a powerful message of consequences. Mr. President, you wanted people to know that there was consequences if you break our laws and harm our people and endanger families. And this is a clear consequence for the worst of the worst, that we have somewhere to put them.
Actually,
the worst of the worst, we have somewhere to put them. Okay. And of course, you heard that shot at CNN. That was priceless. The Genius Alliance continues. He talks about the best relationship he has with this man from El Salvador.
I was impressed. I have a great relationship with this man. I have the best relationship with him. We've known each other. I've known him since he was a very young man, as I said, very, very young. And I was impressed. I said, look at this guy. In fact, you sort of look like a teenager. You look like a teenager. I said, what kind of a country is this? He grew up well in the last 5 years.
Do you support the extension for nationals of El Salvador?
I support him. I have a great...
How many illegals are you sending to El Salvador, President Trump? That's the question. Listen.
How many illegal criminals are you planning on exporting to El Salvador? And President Bukele, how many are you willing to take from the U.S.?
As many as possible. And I just asked the president, you know, it's this massive complex that he built, jail complex. I said, can you build some more of them, please? As many as we can get out of our country that were allowed in here by incompetent Joe Biden through open borders. Open borders. You probably hear open borders and you can't even understand it because nobody can understand it. Nobody smart or with common sense can understand it. So we have millions of people that should not be in this country that are dangerous. Not just people, because we have people, but we have millions of people that are murderers, drug dealers. They've been allowed to come into our country by other countries that were very smart.
How many illegal criminals?
Let's keep going. Bukele shuts down the fake news. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? The question is preposterous.
I return him today. Well, I'm supposedly not suggesting that I'll smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States. Well, I can't.
The question is preposterous. So, the Trump-Bukele alliance is already working to reverse the deliberate destruction of America's borders. This is how real leaders protect their people. The globalists are panicking as their replacement agenda collapses. So, when CNN's reporter tried defending an MS-13 terrorist during the Trump-Bukele press conference, the response nuclear Attorney General Pam Bondi shut them down. It's not a Maryland man. It's a legal alien confirmed to be part of MS-13, a foreign terrorist organization. Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, President Bukele each took turns dismantling the fake news narrative. Even Bernie Moreno asked the question, would you ever imagine sitting here debating whether you should deport criminal gang members? This is how you know the globalists are terrified. They're openly defending violent criminals over American victims like Rachel Morin. So I ask you this for the comment section. Why is the mainstream media more concerned about the rights of foreign terrorists than the safety of your family? I can't wait to see your responses on this one. And show your support for Next News Network with our exclusive Next News Network swag available in the merch shop. It's linked down below at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right, you guys have been really active in the super chat world. I can see it here. Holy cow. Let's see, what do we have here? Tony Leitner, $2. America First. Thank you, Tony. And Villain confirming, ordered my Mag Avengers cap and t-shirt the other day. I'll post a pic on Discord when I get it. Yes, I can't wait to see it. Awesome. And Carter Benton dropping $5. He's an illegal alien, period. And Susudio 0530, super sticker of a character holding their head in their hand saying, how is it going? Our Boyd dropping 5 membership gifts to those in the chat room. Laura Rourke, You Say, Raven's Wings, and Bowen, all receiving memberships. Okay, now we're going to get into the thread that is catching fire on the internet. This is what you guys really need to hear about. This is something that could change the entire dynamic of what's happening in California. And I can't believe that, like, this wasn't thought of sooner. And now we have the opportunity to present this to you. This is huge. A political earthquake is forming on the West Coast that could shatter the entire Democrat power structure. What began as whispers has erupted into a full-blown movement with serious momentum. It involves the one man the establishment cannot control. Why are globalists terrified about a potential governor's race in California? What secret weapon could this tech billionaire deploy against election fraud? And how would his engineering approach solve the homelessness crisis that billions in taxpayer funds couldn't fix? And what's the real story behind California's perpetual water shortage? Campaign merchandise is already hitting the streets, and we've got the exclusive details on this game-changing movement that's already taking root. Yes, folks, it's happening. The grassroots fire has ignited. The petition to draft Elon Musk for governor is live, and if he even considers it, the left will completely melt down. We're talking Doge-style election integrity, ending homelessness with Musk-level innovation, and solving the fake water crisis the elites created. The first campaign gear has dropped, shirts, hats. It's real. It's not a joke. This is a movement to take California back and turn it into the launch pad for the future. So if you're sick of the lies and the corruption and the decay, go now and sign the petition and light the fuse. Go to elonforgov.com. That's elonforgov.com. Let's take back California with rocket fuel. Okay, so I decided I would post this thread because I heard about this idea. I heard about the website. A friend of mine called me up and said, you know what, we got to draft Elon Musk. I said, well, you know, when's the election? When's it happening? And I said, you know, Doge already has an expiration date, because as soon as Elon leaves Doge, he's going to be looking for something else. And if you think about it, we all witnessed the transformation. We saw him early on jumping on the Ron DeSantis train by giving DeSantis a platform on X. Of course, we all know how that went down. It was a complete disaster. So Elon was slowly moving from the left. I always saw him as a left-wing figure, but to see his transformation now has been absolutely mind-blowing, to the point where he was campaigning for President Trump in Pennsylvania, jumping up and down on stages. And now he has his hand in the government, cleaning up the worst of the worst in government corruption. Now, I get messages all the time. Gary, we need a Doge in Illinois. We need a Doge in my state and wherever. But if you think about it, where's Elon from? Elon's got an axe to grind against California, against Gavin Newsom specifically. So, if Elon's looking for a place to go to point his political targets at another state, it only makes sense that it's California. So I decided to put together this thread to encourage Elon Musk to run for governor. Because if you think about it, if he actually runs and even if he like entertains the idea, even if he just posts a tweet, I'm thinking about running, it is going to send the left in California and the left nationwide into an absolute panic. They won't know how to handle it because they won't know if he's bluffing or not. I mean, it's just a simple post. Like, remember when he was talking about, buying MSNBC, or he was buying, think about the news cycle when that happened. Or even just when he started floating the idea about buying X. Everybody's like, what? And with his success already with the presidential campaign of Donald Trump and with Doge, they would be terrified. So I decided to post this thread directly speaking to Elon Musk. And if you want to read the thread in full, just go to our X account. It's posted there. I'm going to go through it now with you. But it's a message directly to Elon. And I said, listen, Elon, if you ever think about running for governor of California, the globalist machine will blow a fuse. You'll break the system, you'll expose the scam, and they will spend $200 million trying to stop you. And that's exactly why you have to do it. So allow me to explain. Here he is, Elon Musk, hypothetical image, Elon for governor. Now, California is ground zero in the war for America's soul. It's a dystopian wasteland run by elite parasites. Crime, homelessness, censorship, it's all collapsing. And the media, of course, tells you everything is fine, right? But we know the truth. The truth is that they've lost control. And they know it. Now, Elon left California because it was ungovernable. Moved his corporations out of there. But now it needs Elon back, not to build another company, but to take the wheel of a crashing ship. And only a disruptor like Elon Musk could tear the corrupt system out by its roots and fix it. Here's a headline from the Los Angeles Times. Elon Musk's messy divorce with California leave ugly grievances all around. It's not just on the left or the right, it's everywhere. Everywhere in California. Okay, so what could a day one look like with Elon Musk at the helm? Okay, first of all, election integrity. We all know what happened in 2020. And we all know that the voter rolls need to be purged. Now, what a better guy. He's already purging the waste and fraud and abuse in the federal government. Imagine if he just focused on just California and removed all of look what he's doing with Social Security. All the Social Security numbers. People 200 years old receiving Social Security checks. The fraud in Medicare. All he's got to do is just turn his sights on California and just rip out the voter rolls, clean them up. And then we can have some honest elections in California again. Bring some Doge-style election integrity to California. No more rigged ballots. No more Soros prosecutors. How about that? No more fake results. Remember how long did it take him to figure out that one congressional race? How long? Weeks and weeks and weeks. They couldn't figure it out. Oh, and then at the end of the day, who won, right? We need transparency and truth and a state that actually counts legal votes again. That alone is worth Elon's name on the ballot. Month 1, deploy Tesla brain power to wipe out homelessness, not Band-Aids, solutions, innovations, infrastructure. Build tech cities while Elon builds tech cities while politicians build tents. This is what the left fears, because it works. Imagine if Elon rolled out I don't know. I don't have the solutions. Elon is a brilliant genius with masterminds, surrounded by masterminds, innovators. I bet you he could put 20 people in a room. Not even. He could put 10 people in a room. They could have a meeting, and they could solve this crisis overnight. But you all know that homelessness pays. It doesn't pay the homeless. It pays all the NGOs that are supposed to be helping the homeless. And all the CEOs of those NGOs who get six-figure salaries every year. Well, everyone still sleeps on the streets. There's no solutions. It's just a cash grab by the elite. Elon would flip that on its head. Imagine a Doge-style homeless solution, kicking out all the money from the NGOs that are getting all this, that are getting wealthier and wealthier, never fixing the problem. I don't know exactly what that solution would look like, but I mean, a lot of these people have mental illnesses and drug addiction. You know, they need a shower. They need to get educated. They need to be reintroduced into society. And I'm sure there is a very efficient way to do that. And I think Elon would be able to do that. Month 2, taking on the big lie, the water crisis. Remember when Los Angeles was up in flames? Yeah. Burning to the ground. And everyone's like posting memes of like California on fire. But then just off to the left of the picture, it's a massive body of water. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You got all this water over here, but yet everything's burning. The fire hydrants aren't even putting out water. The aquifers or the reservoirs completely bone dry. California is surrounded by ocean and flooded with rain, yet Sacramento says we're out of water. I think Elon Musk would find a very simple solution. The guy's talking about taking us to Mars. I think water is like the simplest solution for him. It's not a shortage, it is a racket. And if there's one person that could end it, it's Elon. Here's a headline from Newsweek. California's water crisis demands solutions beyond reservoirs. That's according to a report that was from November 22nd of last year. Now here's the wild part. If you even entertain this idea, Elon, liberal heads will literally explode. But if you actually jump in, they will go scorched earth. Now, I don't, think about this. Elon Musk, they're already firebombing his Tesla buildings. They're already terrifying Tesla owners. I think that's like the worst of the worst. He's already endured it. What more could they do? He's seen it. He's at the pinnacle of their wrath. There's nothing more that he could endure from them. Nothing. But what they will do is blow their war chest. They will spend so much money to try to defeat him, they'll go broke. But hey, he's the richest man on the frickin' planet. Soon to be the richest man on Mars. So they can drop $200 million. It wouldn't even be a drop in the bucket to Elon Musk. And along the way, he will expose every inch of their corrupt machine. Yep, that's just a preview of the liberal heads freaking out on the day that Elon Musk just makes a passing mention of running for governor of California. Elon Musk built rockets. He saved free speech. He laughed in the face of the global elite. He's the man they can't control. And that's why they fear the idea of Elon running for California, because if Elon fixes it, they lose everything. Who can remember this classic moment? This is one of my most favorite moments from Elon Musk.
Is that clear?
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
Yeah. That's why they fear him the most. They can't blackmail him. They can't blackmail him with money. We're going to take your money away. We're going to do this and that. No, he's the richest man on the planet. Of course, he doesn't need the job. That's what makes Elon Musk the most dangerous person. They can't bribe him. They can't buy him. They can't blackmail him because he's post-career, post-cancel, post-control. He's free, and he's exactly what California needs right now. Look at that picture. That is the day of celebration of the liberation of California that it so desperately needs. He could bring Tesla back, cut taxes, burn all the red tape, and destroy their DEI cult with merit and results. Again, I go back to Doge. Look at all the woke DEI garbage they're cutting out of the federal government. California has become an absolute cesspool for DEI. Putting Elon Musk at the helm, the chief executive of California, I could only imagine what kind of executive orders he would sign on day one. California be back on the map, not as a failed state, but as the launch pad to Mars, taking it interstellar with their politics. Elon Musk going scorched earth, baby. Now, California is in decline because the parasites won, but the people, they are ready. They're begging for a savior, not a career politician, not a lobbyist puppet, a warrior, a builder, a rebel with a brain. Elon Musk, that's the man. Oh, man, he would be the greatest governor California could ever see. Oh, now check this out. The storm has begun. This is the signal. The first campaign gear has rolled off the line. Hats and shirts. It's real and it's happening. The people are already suiting up. Take a look at some of this gear. If you want it, you can get some of this gear at elonforgov.com. Link below. Elon for Governor California. This is I got these pictures exclusively from the line as they were coming off the line. Elon for Governor hats. Check it out, dude. It's happening. This is not some like fanciful idea. It's actually happening. The people are drafting Elon Musk to run for governor. And here's the point, that you don't even have to win to win. Just by running, you force their hand, you drain their war chest, you hijack their narrative, you show the people what it looks like when a real man stands up to the beast. That's a real man, Elon Musk. So now there's a petition to draft you, Elon. And it is got thousands of people signing up. Red counties, blue cities, patriots are uniting behind one message. Elon, save California. Light the fuse. Fire the boosters. Let's take off. Draft Elon Musk to save California. Sign the petition. Link below. To help save California and enter for a chance to win a 2025 Tesla Model 3 and $10,000 in cash. Support our efforts to turn California red and unleash its full economic power. Remember when, this is pennies compared to Elon. Remember Elon was giving like $1 million if you signed a petition? You got an opportunity. He was handing out massive checks to people on stage. So obviously these people are taking a page out of Elon's own playbook, and I guess a 2025 Tesla Model 3. Don't worry, no one's going to trash it. All right, and if they do, there's cameras all around. You know that. I wouldn't mind. I've already entered, by the way. Elon has the vision, he has the guts, and he has got the record, and now he has the support of the grassroots. The establishment does not stand a chance. And Elon, if you step in, what are you waiting for? There he is. Another picture of that great and glorious day when Elon Musk is elected governor of California. The people are awake. The fire has started. The gear is out. The petition is live. It's time to break the system and build something real. elonforgov.com. California is ready for liftoff. And all systems are go. Here it is. This is the website. Oh, look at this. Okay, before I go to the website, let's see what people are, how they're reacting. Brick suit. This would be groundbreaking. groundbreakingly epic, and it's also the most entertaining option. Jeremy Oliver, this is fantastic. Corky Swift, this is a great feed. America Impetus, not a bad idea. Leanne Steinberg, I fear MSN has blasted Elon so badly it would be like asking voters to vote for Trump. Well, you know what? There is a Elon derangement syndrome. But of course, that's why we're here. That's why the Next News Network exists, to push back against all that brainwashing with truth. Great idea. Return the state to normalcy. Max Black says he'd be a fool to sign up for that shit show. No, I think he'd enjoy it, actually. It'd be hilarious to watch the meltdowns, but election fraud must be exposed and fixed first. Exactly. 100% agree. I mean, the comments, the thread here, it just goes on and on. People are very supportive already of the idea. Let's take a look at the website. Here it is. This is the draft Elon Musk for governor website. Merch petition, FAQ. Enter now. Let's see, petition. Enter now for a chance to win a 2025 Tesla and 10,000. Sign the petition to help save California. Enter for a chance to win a 2025 Tesla Model 3, 10,000 cash. Support our efforts to turn California red, unleash its full economic power. Sign the petition. No purchase necessary. Winners are chosen randomly. Shop merch for more entries. California needs you. California's in trouble. Politicians have let us down. Elon Musk isn't just a dreamer, he's a doer. Sign the petition to draft Elon for governor and turn California around. Your voice can change the state and the nation. And here is the actual petition. Mr. Musk, California is your home, the birthplace of your genius, where Tesla and SpaceX once thrived, but overregulation and crushing taxes drove yours and so many other businesses out, leaving our state in crisis. We, the people of California and America, beg you to run for governor and take it back. You are our only hope to reclaim the Golden State's glory as a global powerhouse. Look at this. I mean, this whole petition breaks it down, and you can sign it. And if you like the idea and you want to have a chance to win a Tesla, some cash, why not, right? I wouldn't mind having a Model 3. So go to the website. It's linked down below. Join the movement to save California. So let's be honest. I mean, Elon, he doesn't need the job. I mean, that's what makes him dangerous to the establishment. He can't be bought. He can't be bullied. And every time they try to cancel him, he only gets stronger. The man who built reusable rockets like this one right here. Yeah. Who brought manufacturing back to America with this. The guy who bought Twitter and exposed government censorship in real time. He's the ultimate threat to California's corrupt cartel. And if Elon wins, the entire system collapses. Newsom, done. The DEI mafia evicted. The consultants bankrupt. The posters are printed. The hats are out. The petition is live, and it's happening. So here's what I ask you. Would Elon Musk as governor of California spark a nationwide revolution against failing blue state policies? So make sure you head over to the website linked in the description and sign the petition right now. All right. That was awesome. I can't wait to see how this blows up. You guys, this is the beginning of this movement to draft Elon Musk. I think it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So make sure you tell a friend about this and get the word out. Help us. Repost the thread on our X account. Okay, we got some more super chats here. Our Boyd gifting 5 memberships. Laura, you say, oh, we have to do that. Bruce Pyatt dropping $10. Thank you. Enjoy the show. Love the song. Robert Arias, $5. Gary, the lefties. Tell the lefties to go bleep themselves. Thomas Fuchs, $10. Elon is gold. He would be the best governor. I agree 100%. 100%. All right. We're not done yet. We got more news to jump to. We ain't done yet. There's a massive economic revolution taking place, and I'm here for it. President Trump just revealed a strategic economic plan so bold that foreign leaders are scrambling to make emergency calls to Washington. We've obtained insider information about a principle involving cannonballs that's reshaping America's entire manufacturing strategy. How many trillions in private capital has already been committed to American shores? Which tech giant that controls the world is bringing its production back to the United States? And what shocking admission did the White House just make about Biden's trade policies? This isn't just about better trade deals. It's about something far more critical to our national survival. The globalists who enrich themselves for decades are in complete panic. We have all the details. So are you ready to transform your skin and unlock your youthful glow just like Trump is rejuvenating America's economic foundation? Well, this cutting-edge multi-collagen formula is transforming skin health. As we rebuild our manufacturing base, you can rebuild your skin's vital collagen. I absolutely love how it's transformed my skin. Can't you tell how beautiful my skin is? Looking younger, while Trump is helping America look stronger. This formula features 5 key types of collagen from 4 different sources, critical for reducing wrinkles, improving elasticity, and promoting hydration. Get 51% off during this patriotic promotion at healthwithgary.com. Your skin will thank you, just like American workers are thanking Trump. Let's jump into this. President Trump and his administration laying the groundwork to invoke national security to impose a new tax on pharmaceuticals and semiconductors. This is actually this is a news bite from Good Morning America. Yeah, they're biting their tongue having to report this.
The White House is, Michael, good morning. And the White House is laying the groundwork for the president to invoke national security to impose new tariffs on semiconductors and on pharmaceuticals. This could have a big impact on Americans across the country. Semiconductors, traditionally made outside of the United States, are used to power everything from cars to smartphones. And on pharmaceuticals, the raw ingredients used to make most medicines are also made overseas. Experts warn that could drive up the prices on over-the-counter drugs like ibuprofen. But the president is insisting that all of that needs to be made here in the United States. And some tech companies, including NVIDIA overnight, have responded to his demand for manufacturing here in the United States. But it will take time for those productions to get up and running. Meanwhile, the White House, Trump administration, continuing these negotiations on trade with other countries. The vice president says there is a good chance that the U.S. will reach a trade agreement with the U.K., but not at the negotiating table is China. Those 145% tariffs on Chinese imports are still in place, Michael.
And Rachel, it's a new day and it's a new lawsuit for President Trump over the tariffs.
Exactly, Michael. Now, this time it is a group of small businesses that are suing the Trump administration over these tariffs, saying the president does not have the power to impose them, calling his reasoning that this is a national emergency, a, quote, figment of his imagination. Now, the White House is pushing back, insisting that it is a national emergency, saying that these tariffs do level the playing field for small businesses and for workers, Michael.
Yes, I'm sure the small businesses really have the full national security picture, don't they? Yeah, I think President Trump clearly understands. Here we have from the press secretary earlier today sharing a statement from the president that the ball is in China's court now.
In China's court. Look, the president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country, except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
Yeah, they certainly do. They need our money. Here's more from the press secretary. president is turning America into a manufacturing superpower again.
One of the largest, President Trump is turning America into a manufacturing superpower again. Yesterday, there was a monumental announcement by NVIDIA, one of the largest companies in the world. This is just the latest example. For the first time ever, chip-making giant NVIDIA will produce AI supercomputers entirely in the United States as part of its pledge to produce $50 billion worth of AI infrastructure in our country over the next 4 years. With their manufacturing partners, they have commissioned more than 1 million square feet of manufacturing space to build and test NVIDIA Blackwell chips in the great state of Arizona and AI supercomputers in the great state of Texas. NVIDIA's founder and CEO Jensen Huang touted how the engines of the world's AI infrastructure are being built in the United States for the first time. This is the Trump effect. This follows trillions in other U.S. investments announced already, including $500 billion from Apple in U.S.-based manufacturing and training, $100 billion from TSMC and U.S.-based chips manufacturing, and the $500 billion private investment led by OpenAI, Oracle, and SoftBank in artificial intelligence infrastructure. Under President Trump, we're going to produce the cars, the ships, the chips, the airplanes, minerals, and medicines that we need right here in America at the hands of American workers.
And that's why it's a national security issue. So these small businesses could go ahead and try to, create an injunction against these tariffs. But President Trump, and we all remember, you guys remember what happened during the pandemic when all the trade was shut down. The supply chains were disrupted. It's because we're too dependent on China. That's why it's a freaking national security issue. I mean, I just report the news, okay? And I can figure this out. Oh, man. Anyway, on Varney and Company, question asked, do you think we're going to win the tariff war? Here's Dave Ramsey's response.
Negotiating, it looks like. You think we're going to win the tariff war? Based on the guy doing the negotiating, it looks like we are. Okay, I'll take that as a yes. You think?
I'll take that as a yes. Here's Secretary Scott Bessent on the potential trade deals.
He said he's not going. The Japanese Prime Minister recently said he's not going to rush to get a compromise and a negotiation. How quickly do you think you can see these deals come to fruition?
Well, again, I think there will be advantage to our allies, especially, and a first mover advantage. Usually the first person who makes the deal gets the best deal. So
who do you think will be first?
It's their choice.
Is there a handful of countries that you expect to have a deal before the 90 days is up?
Oh, I think there could be numerous countries. And look, it may not be the actual trade document, but we will have agreement in principle and be able to move forward from there.
So are we talking about a dozen or 70 plus?
I think it's going to depend, but we're going to move with all deliberate speed. And again, it's going to be a process. It's going to be USTR, who just has mountains of data that they've been collecting over the years. Because in a funny way, the tariffs are the easiest part. So a country with high tariffs, you can just say, okay, this, get rid of it. It's the non-tariff trade barriers that are more insidious, more difficult to spot. And it's probably going to take a little longer to exercise those demons.
Let's keep going. We got some more on that. Talking about the U.S. currency.
Safe haven asset.
Scott,
I'm not concerned at this moment about the U.S. dollar or the U.S. Treasury losing safe haven asset.
No, look,
we're still a global reserve currency.
We are still a global reserve currency. We have a strong dollar policy. The dollar can go up and down. If you go and look back at President Trump's first term, I don't remember the exact number, but the dollar in 2017 went down, I can't remember, 7, 8, 9%, and then once the tax bill was done, took off for the remainder of his term.
Okay, so the economic revolution's underway. Trump's trade plan already creating the biggest manufacturing comeback in American history. The globalist media doesn't want you to understand how it works, but I'm going to expose it all for you right now. Here are the globalist puppets saying bringing back manufacturing is a pipe dream. Janet Yellen. Let's listen to her.
Accomplished. Perhaps it's to bring back American manufacturing, but I really think that's a pipe dream and not something that is likely to be accomplished. And we could even raise questions about whether or not, in a broad-based way, that's a desirable goal. Perhaps it's to...
A desirable goal? A pipe dream? I mean, she's one of the architects of destruction to begin with. Oh, my goodness. Here, the master plan revealed 10% reciprocal tariff baseline for the whole world. Special protection for national security items. Listen. Oh, and here's the part about the cannonballs. What? The cannonball principle?
First thing is, the president has a comprehensive, detailed, very sensible plan to manage rebooting our trade relationships. And let's just go through it really, really quickly. And sorry, a lawnmower just went by, so I got to speak a little louder. So the first thing is that we've got this baseline tariff that right now is 10%, but could negotiate up from there if people don't make big concessions. But let's just say right now we've got a 10% reciprocal tariff, which is the baseline for the whole world. In addition, we have these things which are called 232 items, which are things that are really, really important for national security. And so the example I like to give when I'm explaining trade policy to graduate students is the way to think about 232 is that if you've got a cannon, but you've got cannonballs that you have to buy from the enemy, then if there ends up being, some kind of action with the enemy, then you might run out of cannonballs really fast. And so it's okay to put a tariff on a cannonball. Now, for semiconductors, there are a lot of semiconductors in your car, in my car. There are semiconductors in military things. And so for a 232 semiconductor action, it's extremely important that we look at, and the president said he'll announce one this week, we look at the things that influence national security and make sure that we're onshoring that production so that if there ever were a problem in the future, that the U.S. would be 100% ready. And so if you put a semiconductor in, a toaster, then that's probably not a national security matter. But in the end, what will happen will be the legal process. We'll decide what is a national security matter with guidance from the president's team and the president. And I got to say that this plan has been basically the plan from the beginning. From the beginning, we've been talking about which things are 232s, which things are covered by the Reciprocal Trade Act. And so nobody should think that there was a surprise or anything at the last minute last week.
World leaders are now begging to make deals, more than 10 deals with amazing offers made to the U.S. So much progress they can't decide whether to announce them one by one or all at one. Listen.
Where we've got everybody in the trade team and even deputies of people in the trade team talking to just about everybody on earth. And I think that we've got more than 10 deals where there's very, very good, amazing offers made to the U.S. That USTR Trade Representative Jameson Greer and Howard Lutnick and the rest of our trade team and the president are stewing over whether those deals are good enough. And so I think that the one question that I have open in my mind is, should we go one at a time or should we announce a bundle all at once, because we have so much progress made so quickly. And don't forget, because this president's plan was pretty much sketched the way you and I have talked about it right from the beginning, even before he was inaugurated. And so there have been a heck of a lot of talks that have been ongoing throughout the time that we've been here. And so even before the Reciprocal Trade Act was announced, I think we had 2 or 3 deals that were very, very close to being closed. And so the president will decide when he's satisfied with a deal and when he wants to announce it and how many all at once. But I can tell you the progress has been astonishing.
Well, he is the master deal maker. For 40 years, our workers were betrayed while globalist vultures got rich. Listen to this.
Things that we need. For 40 years, we have lost manufacturing capacity. Workers have seen their wages stagnate. And some of the most critical things that we need, from the pharmaceuticals, the drugs that we give to our children, the antibiotics that we give to our kids, to the weapons that we actually need to fight a war, if God forbid we had to fight a war, we don't make enough of that stuff. And so President Trump ran explicitly on changing that. Yes, as the president mentioned, it caused a little bit of disruption in the market, but I actually think over the long term, workers are going to benefit, stocks are going to go up, American businesses are going to benefit as we reinvest and reindustrialize our country. For 40 years, we have...
Yeah, and that's what Janet Yellen says is a pipe dream. America will make its own drugs, its own steel, its own aluminum. Again, $7 trillion flooding into our economy in just 2 months. Here's the president.
And we're doing it because we want to make our own drugs. We're doing it because we want to make our own steel and aluminum, lumber, other things. And they're all coming in. We have record numbers, $7 trillion. Since I announced, like a month and a half ago, since I came in, we have over $7 trillion being invested in the country. We didn't have $1 trillion. We didn't have $500 billion for some of these guys. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. So we have the largest investment that we've ever heard of, and we're only 2 months in. And that'll continue at levels that you've never seen before. It's going to happen.
And we're watching it, trillions of dollars to onshore the foundries. Companies are in a horse race to build American semiconductor plants. The rewards for those moving fastest will be enormous. Corporate America finally investing in America workers instead of foreign slaves. NVIDIA, the AI giant that controls the world, bringing hundreds of billions in investment to America. Without tariffs, they wouldn't be doing it.
You scored another major investment win this morning when NVIDIA pledged to build its AI supercomputer, the first time ever, right here in the United States.
Thank you. That's a question I like. That's true.
What is your reaction to this announcement, sir, and how does this positively benefit Americans across America?
Well, it's one of the biggest announcements you'll ever hear, because NVIDIA, as you know, controls that almost the entire sector, which is one of the most important sectors in the world, between chips and semiconductors and everything else. And they're the biggest. And the other biggest we already have coming in and spending $300 billion, as you know. They announced 2 weeks ago. But NVIDIA is so highly respected. And this was an announcement that a lot of people, I knew it was going to happen, but not to the extent that it happened. It's big. And the reason they did it is because of the election on November 5th and because of a thing called tariffs, as I say, the most beautiful word in the dictionary. After love, God, relationship, the press actually hit me and said, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. What about family, love, God? I got hit even on that. You understand? I said, okay. So now I say it's my fifth most favorite word because they get you on anything. But that NVIDIA, it's one of the great companies of the world, modern, super modern companies, controls segments that nobody, sort of controls the world in a sense, and they're coming in here in the biggest way with hundreds of billions of dollars. Not like millions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, and I'm honored by it. And I want to thank Jensen and all of the people that we deal with. They're great people. They're brilliant people.
President Trump said, I don't change my mind, but I am flexible. Trump giving auto companies time to transition while keeping America first. This is 4D chess, not rigid ideology. Listen.
Parts.
Yesterday, you mentioned short-lived product exemptions. Which specific products are you considering, and how long is short-lived? Weeks, months?
I'm looking at something to help some of the car companies where they're switching to parts that were made in Canada, Mexico, and other places, and they need a little bit of time because they're going to make them here, but they need a little bit of time. So I'm talking about things like that.
What about any Apple products, other cell phones?
Look, I'm a very flexible person. I don't change my mind, but I'm flexible. And you have to be. You just can't have a wall and you'll only go. No, sometimes you have to go around it, under it, or above it. There'll be maybe things coming up. I speak to Tim Cook. I helped Tim Cook recently, and that whole business. I don't want to hurt anybody, but the end result is we're going to get to the position of greatness for our country. We're the greatest economic power in the world if we're smart. If we're not smart, we're going to hurt our country very badly.
And that's exactly what Joe Biden did. But we're witnessing the great American industrial comeback happening right now. Well, the fake news lies about Trump's trade policy. American workers are seeing jobs and factories return. The globalists who destroyed our manufacturing base are now in total panic. Make sure you follow Next News for the truth they don't want you to hear. So the globalists, for 40 years, the globalist vultures got rich while our workers were betrayed. The drugs, we give our children, the weapons we need to fight wars, we don't make enough. That's what Trump said. But now Ford, Intel, Boeing, they're all flooding the system with new investments. America isn't just back, it's dominant. While CNN and MSNBC bury their heads in recycled talking points, Trump is pulling off the biggest economic turnaround since Reagan. They called it crazy. They called it a stunt. But every factory job coming back proves them wrong. And Trump told us the ball is in China's court. We don't need them, they need us. So here's my question for you. Is Trump's aggressive trade strategy the greatest economic counterattack against China in our lifetime? Comment below. And show your patriotic pride with Next News gear, available now at the Next News merch shop, linked down below. All right. Our Boyd, $5. This is for the Alex Jones was right again jar. Did you guys see the Tucker interview that he did with the congressman? I just saw it. I haven't watched it in full yet, but I mean, you don't need to prove anything to me about what happened that day. But I think it's awesome to see Tucker finally asking those questions. I mean, I remember back in the day, he would mock us for questioning anything related to that day. But it's all changing now, isn't it? Okay, most truthful interview in years, says Deep State of Israel. Linda Hunter, I was shocked when I found out China is in the UN, but that's long since now. While over there. Smoochy, smoochy, kissed a lot of frogs. Okay, let's go into this. Let's see here. An extraordinary confrontation just erupted in the Oval Office that CNN executives are desperately trying to memory hole. When a reporter tried to ambush President Trump with a loaded question about deportations, what happened next left the entire press corps stunned. Why did multiple cabinet members take turns dismantling CNN's narrative? What shocking statement was Dana Bash forced to make on air afterwards that no legitimate news network should ever have to say? And which longtime CNN figure is remembered for his horrific acts in the Oval Office? Well, the establishment media is imploding before our eyes, and tonight we're revealing the explosive exchange that proves their propaganda machine is finally breaking down. Now, if you're battling pain while watching CNN's painful coverage, listen up. Before reaching for another painkiller, discover the turmeric hack that's shocking the medical establishment. This Trump-era breakthrough features a turmeric extract 200 times more powerful than standard versions, perfect for patriots tired of mainstream pain solutions. Just as Trump exposed CNN's propaganda machine, this formula exposes Big Pharma's grip on pain management. It attacks inflammation at the source, just like Trump attacks fake news at its source. No more expensive treatments or ineffective medications. Watch the eye-opening video at goldenrevive.com/NNN and start your journey towards pain-free living while Trump continues dismantling the media's painful narratives. Now, it was a beautiful moment. It happened in the Oval Office. I was listening to it live as it happened. It was stunning to listen to. This is when Trump welcomed Bukele to the Oval Office. Listen.
Let's not start. Do you have any questions, please?
President Trump.
No, let's not start with CNN because they're just so
Mr. President.
wrong. Do you have any questions, please?
Mr. Trump? Yeah. They're just so wrong. President Trump to Caitlin Collins. This is what he said. Listen.
Why don't you?
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago, and they said that it must be facilitated.
Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that? Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You know, you have no credibility. Please go ahead.
President Trump.
Oh, you have no credibility. Here's another one. Stephen Miller tears into fake news CNN for a slanted question about deporting an MS-13 Salvadorian gang member.
I don't know what's happening. Wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, you know, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant because they're totally slanted because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As 2 immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So we had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful, and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, rapes little girls, murders women, murders children, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan to ask for Elon to get him back?
And what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0.
In our favor?
In our favor, against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual, at El Salvador's sole discretion, was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
no version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
Smoked. Totally smoked. Oh, my goodness. Now, Dana Bash was forced to respond to Trump's Oval Office CNN comments with her statement, and it was just, she was all over the map. Oh, you could, this is a solid gold. Watch this.
Trump say in the Oval.
You know, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like putting out good numbers. They only like putting out because I think they hate our country, actually.
Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years, and I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing.
You know, like CNN over here doesn't want to put them out because they don't like.
Now I've got another. There's another angle of that. It's a little bit longer. It's really good. I'm just trying to find it for you right now. Okay, I think I've got it here. Let's see. Check this out. Here it is.
We have heard a lot of bits of information, a lot of news nuggets that we want to definitely focus on. A lot of.
I mean, she's just. We don't hate America. She's stumbling over her own words. I'll never forget when she was assigned to the Ron Paul campaign trail. That was a interesting moment in history, too.
News nuggets that we want to definitely focus on. A lot of some misinformation as well. But we want to
digest all of this right now with our terrific panel here and our reporters. Jeff Zeleny, I want to start with you. You are at the White House. Before I get to you, I just want to say, for the record, since we heard President Trump say in the Oval Office that CNN hates our country, CNN does not hate our country. That should go without saying. I've been here for 32 years, and I see a rhetorical device in him trying to say such a thing. That said, I want to focus on the news that we heard. We have heard...
The news is that CNN hates our country. Here's President Trump and his team demolishing the fake news CNN. And here's another great angle. Here's Marco Rubio.
These are sick people. Marco, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, Stephen outlined it. I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people, back to their country of origin. Except for Venezuela, that wasn't refusing to take people back, or places like that. I can tell you this, Mr. President. No, the foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court. And no court in the United States has a right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple.
The court specifically said he couldn't be sent back to El Salvador, though.
Point. The Supreme Court said exactly what Marco said, that no court has the authority to compel a foreign policy function in the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, he's
Stephen Miller standing right next to Caitlin Collins, and he's pointing at her, just drilling CNN. I'm going to scroll it back just a hair because I love just watching Stephen Miller go to town. And he's right next to her.
Authority to compel a foreign policy function in the United States. We won a case 9-0, and people like CNN are portraying it as a loss, as usual, because they want foreign terrorists in the country who kidnap women and children. But President Trump, his policy is foreign terrorists that are here illegally get expelled from the country, which, by the way, is a 90-10 issue.
Well, Mr. President, you said that if the Supreme Court said someone needed to be returned, that you would abide by that. You said that on Air Force One just a few days ago. And
How long do we have to answer this question from you? Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? Why can't you just say that?
Well, it's illegal.
Why do you go over and over? And that's why nobody watches you anymore. You have no credibility. Sick piece of...
Oh, man, dude. Oh, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. Now, I believe this is a clip from just outside of the Oval Office after the events occurred. Trump ended the CNN reporter's career and credibility today. That's what happens when you defend illegal criminals over U.S. citizens. So, yes, this is clearly them all departing the Oval Office. Let's check this out.
We didn't do close to 9.
How do you guys feel like your briefing went?
We didn't do a briefing.
Or how do you guys feel like your questions went?
Typical Monday, you know?
And is it normal for Trump to attack you like that? No? How's that usually go?
Close to 9.
No comment from Caitlin Collins there. He's asking her directly, and she just ignores.
Like that? No? How's that usually go?
Close to.
Oh, man, I could watch that all day long. But who could forget the person who preceded Caitlin Collins, but the great Jim Acosta, right? The originator of fake news himself. Now, I can certainly say that Caitlin Collins isn't as toxic as Jim Acosta was. But, of course, Jim Acosta no longer works for CNN because he was that toxic. Let's do a throwback to that wonderful moment in the White House when Donald Trump just tore Jim Acosta a new one.
That way. Go ahead.
On the Russia investigation, are you concerned that you may have...
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation? Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible. You shouldn't treat people that way. Go ahead. Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead.
In Jim's defense, I've traveled with him and watched him. He's a diligent reporter who busts his butt.
Well, I'm not
like
a big
the rest
fan of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me.
I'm not a fan of yours either.
Since I've traveled with him and watched him, he's a diligent reporter who busts his butt.
Well, I'm not
like
a big fan of yours either, so
I understand.
To be honest.
So let me ask you a question, if I can. You repeatedly said
you aren't the best,
Mr. President. You repeatedly over the course.
Okay, just sit down, please. Well, when you report fake news, when you report fake news, which CNN does a lot, you are the enemy of the people. Go ahead,
Mr.
Boom. Oh man, I will never forget that exchange. One of the most famous exchanges with President Trump and the media ever captured on camera. So what is Jim Acosta doing now? Well, apparently he's got a podcast, and I couldn't imagine how many people who's actually watching him. This was published just 24 hours ago. Western Lensman, Elizabeth Warren blasts Trump on Jim Acosta's podcast. Okay, fine. We'll entertain this for just a minute, as long as we possibly can, I guess. Well, play. It won't play. That's strange. Try this again. Well, it doesn't want to play. But you get the point. He's going back to his old Rolodex of Trump haters and trying to drum up some views for his dying podcast. Good luck, Jim. Good luck. So, Dana Bash, you saw, going into an on-air panic, solemnly declaring, for the record, CNN does not hate our country. Since when does a news organization, have to tell viewers it doesn't hate America? Meanwhile, Elizabeth Warren, going on Jim Acosta's podcast, that unless the Trump DOJ investigates Trump, we're just servants of King Donald Trump. Yes, Jim Acosta does not work for CNN anymore after years of pushing lies. As Trump once said, CNN should be ashamed to employ you. And I'm glad they listened. Now, this isn't just a feud with CNN. This is the final collapse of the fake news empire. So here's what I'm going to ask you for the comment section. Is this the beginning of the end of the corrupt corporate media? Or will they double down on their anti-American propaganda? And show everyone where you stand with the real news by picking up a shirt or a hat at the Next News merch shop. Link down below. shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, so why didn't that play? I don't know why. It still won't play. I hope I don't have any other problems with other clips, but it seemed like it was playing before. Is this playing?
Definitely focus on a lot.
Okay, well, too bad. So sad. Let's see what else we got here going on this raw feed tonight on tax day, April 15th. Oh, yeah. Looks like it's curtains for NPR. Finally, PBS. Their brainwashing scam has been exposed. Dark Skull Driver, dropping $15. Stephen Miller is one of the best. So glad he's in our administration. I love Stephen Miller, too. And Darren Carr just became a member. So, I want to ask you guys, here's a question for you. I got an email from someone in the Belgian press. They want to interview me at the White House about legacy media not wanting people like the Next News Network there. And specifically naming Next News Network as just propaganda. I'm toying with the idea. I don't really trust the media. I've looked into the reporter. He seems pretty balanced. It's an international press interview. All press is good press, good or bad. So I'm not sure if I should do it or not. I think I may, because the fact that they're saying Next news is propaganda. You know, we push back against the lies and the narratives that are constantly coming from the mainstream media. That's a fact. So, like, who's propaganda? Right? Mainstream media is propaganda. It's statist media. It's globalist corporate media pushing the narratives. You just saw what happened in the Oval Office. So, you guys think I should do it? You guys let me know in the chat room. Might get some viewers who want a truth, so go do it. God direct you. Amen. We'll see. Tyson says no. Who else? Tell them propaganda this. Do it ×3. Take me back to Sesame Street. Legacy equals propaganda. Tony dropping $2. N3 only tells the truth and can back it up. All press is good press, promise. Irish Whiskey says no. Who is it? Because if it's an ADL or hope not hate thing, why would you? Independent media is important. Bring the receipts. Yeah, maybe if I do the interview, I would just record my side of it. So that way there's no way they can edit or make me try to look bad or something. But I don't know. I think, I from what I saw about this guy, he seems like he's not as bad. Okay, let's get into our next thread here. Oh, before we do, wait, Brian. Sorry. I just saw here's a live shot of the White House. Check this out. Live shot of the White House in real time. I'll be going back to the White House in, I think next week I'll be going back. On the 25th. I'll be there through May 3rd. I'm going to spend a full week there. Another awesome adventure awaits in D.C., so we'll see. Okay. Let's continue. For decades, your tax dollars have been funding something so sinister that when you see the evidence, you'll be outraged. We've compiled shocking examples of what NPR and PBS are pushing into American living rooms while forcing you to pay for it. What Valentine's Day special claimed that certain fish would be better off female? Which PBS children's program featured adult entertainers with sexually suggestive names? And what disturbing eating practice did NPR try to normalize as perfectly natural? Well, President Trump is moving to cut off the money pipeline, and the reaction from these organizations proves everything about their true agenda. And right now, it's time to expose their propaganda machine. As NPR pushes their taxpayer-funded propaganda about fat-phobic doorways and transgender dinosaurs, your blood pressure might be rising, and for good reason. That's why I'm excited about this triple action formula designed to help manage blood pressure naturally. Just as Trump is cutting off NPR's taxpayer gravy train, this breakthrough can help regulate your body's vital systems. While government-funded media fills our airways with stress-inducing woke ideology, this powerful formula with white mulberry leaf and cinnamon bark powder helps maintain healthy blood pressure levels naturally. Take control of your heart health at boostwithgary.com, while Trump takes control of our runaway media funding. So, what do we have here? Ooh! What is this? What is this? What does this book say? The hips on the drag queen go swish, swish, swish. Oh, is that a book that you'd like to have your children read? Your tax dollars at work, though. For years, Americans have been forced to fund NPR and PBS while they pump radical woke propaganda disguised as news. And President Trump is right. This is a complete waste of taxpayer money. The indoctrination machine is about to be exposed. President Trump announces a plan to defund NPR and PBS, says it's very unfair and biased. Let's listen.
To take tomorrow, the subcommittee on DOGE is going to review funding for NPR and PBS. Now, every Republican president has always promised to take away this money that's going to these two public news outlets. If they're successful, I know Senator Kennedy has backed it, Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress has backed it, would you be interested in defunding and taking away taxpayer dollars to NPR and PBS?
Well, I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased with a whole group. I mean, a whole group of them. And frankly, there's plenty. Look at all the media you have right now. There's plenty of coverage. I was from a different age, and they spend more money than any other network of its type ever conceived. So the kind of money that's being wasted, and it's a very biased view, you know that better than anybody. And I'd be honored to see it end. We're well covered. Look at all the people that we have here today. We're well covered, and we don't need it, and it's a waste of money. Especially, I don't even know what Doge's recommendation is. I assume their recommendation is to close them up.
Well, after they hear all the testimony, I think they're going to make a decision relatively sooner than later.
Yeah.
But we'll see what that turns out.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't, because they have found so much waste, fraud, and abuse.
Tomorrow.
Heritage Foundation scholar testifying NPR and PBS have violated the public trust. Former journalists exposing the circular, undemocratic relationship. Democrats vote for more money for public media, and in exchange, PBS NPR heavily tips the scale in their favor. Listen to this testimony.
My name is Mike Gonzalez. I'm a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. The views expressed are my own and should not be construed as representing any official position of the Heritage Foundation. Before joining Heritage 16 years ago, I was a journalist for many years. I worked in Latin America, Asia, and Europe, traveled with the Mujahideen in Afghanistan, was arrested in Panama, witnessed China's takeover of Hong Kong, and covered the stock market for the Wall Street Journal. I have even covered high school sports. I know that journalists can keep their prejudices in check. That is, if they want to. This ability to give all sides a hearing becomes an even more serious obligation when taxpayers are coerced to pay for you. Yet NPR, PBS, and the other state broadcasters refuse to abide by the simple code of decency. For decades, they've asked for more money while telling conservatives to get lost. But the nation today is in a very different place, with $36 trillion in debt. And more importantly, we're seeing not just a shift in our cultural vibe, but a shift in societal paradigms. Through their egregious bias, NPR and PBS have violated the public trust. Public media needs to be defunded, and the CPB needs to be dissolved. It's a matter of simple fairness. Multiple arguments can be made. I will list just a few. We're deeply in debt. Number two, the arrangement is unfair to private sector media competitors. Number three, public broadcasting was created with the promise that it would be educational. But now that thousands of competitors have come online, public media has become, as George Will says, like the human appendix, vestigial and purposeless. The funding is a regressive tax, an obnoxious wealth transfer from working families to the affluent. But the ultimate factor is the broadcaster's unforgivable political bias. What we have today is a circular, undemocratic relationship. Democrats unanimously vote for more and more money for public media, and in exchange, public media heavily tips the scale in their favor. It is
NPR's 2024 Valentine's Day Queer Animals special claimed Finding Nemo's clownfish would be better off as female, and some deer are non-binary. This is not science, it's woke fantasy being pushed on your children with your money. What are these? Okay, and tango makes 3. Okay. Gay polar bears, I guess? Is that what this is? 2 penguins in the penguin house. Oh boy, what am I getting into? 2 penguins in the penguin house were a little bit different. One was named Roy. The other was named Silo. Roy and Silo were both boys, but they did everything together. They bowed to each other, they sang to each other, they swam together, they walked together. Wherever Roy went, Silo went also. Oh my. They didn't spend much time with the girl penguins, and the girl penguins didn't spend much time with them. Instead, Roy and Silo wound their necks around each other. Their keeper, Mr. Gramsci, noticed the 2 penguins and thought to himself, they must be in love. Roy and Silo watched how the other penguins made a home. So they built a nest of stones for themselves, and every night Roy and Silo slept there together just like the other penguin couples. Wow. NBC admits public broadcasting receives millions in taxpayer money. Reporter says that cutting funds won't end NPR or PBS, but will have impact, of course. That's what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you. Even mainstream media acknowledges Trump's justified anger.
Public broadcast.
Well, President Trump is set to ask Congress, though, in the coming weeks to rescind federal funds for NPR and PBS. And how are these public broadcasters currently funded? And why is the president angry at them right now?
Right. I don't think a lot of people realize that the PBS, public broadcasting, NPR, National Public Radio, they do receive taxpayer funds each and every year, funds allocated from Congress to operate. Now, it's not their entire budget. They do have donors as well, so cutting of these funds is not expected to end NPR or end PBS, but if you're taking away millions and millions of dollars from any operating budget, there's obviously going to be an impact here. We shouldn't necessarily be surprised. President Trump has criticized PBS and NPR for its editorial coverage for years. There was a high-profile hearing on Capitol Hill just recently where Republicans teed off on those news organizations for their coverage, particularly of President Trump in recent years. This continues the philosophical belief of the Trump White House that a smaller government is a better government and that there needs to be less spending of taxpayer money on certain things. We're seeing that play out with cuts at the IRS and cuts at the Department of Health and Human Services and elsewhere. And we're certainly seeing it in areas and in programs that the president has been angered and frustrated at over the years. And yes, that includes coverage of PBS and NPR.
Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene nails it. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to suppress the truth.
Suppress diversity. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to actively suppress the truth, suppress diverse viewpoints, and produce some of the most outlandish, ludicrous content. After listening to what we've heard today, we will be calling for the complete and total defund and dismantling of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Here's how it works in America every single day, private businesses operate on their own without government funding. We believe that you all can hate us on your own dime. The corporation
hate us on your own dime, right? 2021, NPR suggests doorway sizes are based on latent fatophobia. It's not a joke. Your federal tax dollars funding articles claiming architecture is discriminatory. There's literally nothing these radicals won't politicize with your money. 2022, NPR educated the nation on genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts and Triceratops. It's not parody. This is actual content they produce with taxpayer funding, pushing gender ideology through prehistoric creatures. The lunacy knows no limits. There's your Triceratops right there. And also confirmed on Bannon's War Room, Trump administration readying rescissions package to cut $1 billion from Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Not about bias. Check this out.
New York Post, this is real. Russ Vogt joins us. Talk about public. Russ, big scoop in the New York Post. Finally, we're going to cut off these left-wing news organizations, NPR, PBS, etc. Please tell me that's true. It's not fake news coming from the New York Post. This is real, sir?
It's real. We're ready to send up a rescissions package to Congress that includes the $1 billion rescission to Corporation for Public Broadcasting, PBS, NPR, and as you know, this is not just left-wing indoctrination, but this is worse than that. They've been at the forefront of the efforts to do on a cultural basis the type of dividing on the basis of wokeism that we've seen and had such a great deal of issue over the last 4 years. drag queen shows and for kids. It's not just about whether they're covering Hunter Biden's laptop, which they are not. They've been at the forefront of the woke agenda, and that's finally going to come to end, hopefully, if we get Congress's vote. So we're sending a rescissions package up. It'll be $1 billion to Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which the vast majority of that is NPR and PBS, and it will be $8.3 billion in straight Doge cuts with regard to USAID. So this is all of the nonsense, the garbage, Iraqi Sesame Street. But again, go up program by program. It's woke. It's funding LGBT organizations and those initiatives in other countries, which you zoom out and you wonder, why do countries hate us? Because we're funding this in their country. So we're looking forward. This is the first of the rescissions we intend to send up. More is coming, but as it pertains to this one, we want to see it passed and Congress come alongside of us and help us make sure these Doge savings are in fact permanent. And it's good to be back on, Steve. Back home.
PBS aired a children's program featuring a drag queen named Little Miss Hot Mess, targeting children with adult sexual content while claiming it's educational. Parents have no say while their taxpayers fund this deliberate corruption of innocence. Oh, my.
So we are going to sing and dance it out. So get your singing voices ready. And we're going to start with our hips. The hips on the drag queen go swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. The hips on the drag queen go swish, swish, swish. All through the town. The hair on the drag queen goes up, up, up. Up, up, up. Up, up, up. The hair on the drag queen goes up, up, up. All through the town.
Why do the hips go swish, swish, swish? This could only mean there's something between the hips. Truth bomb. Catherine Marr and the entire staff at NPR don't just disagree with you. They hate you. They hate Christians. They hate conservatives. They hate this country. The contempt was visible during a congressional hearing. Republicans must stop the funding. Listen to Brandon Gill.
That Catherine Marr and the entire staff at NPR, I think it's worth noting, they don't just disagree with you, they hate you. They hate Christians. They hate conservatives. They hate this country. You could see in that hearing a couple days ago just the unadulterated contempt that Catherine Marr had for the fact that she even had to answer for anything that she has said in the past, or the fact that she had to even provide any kind of accounting for NPR's biased reporting. She believes that she's so far above that she shouldn't have to answer that. Remember, she's a left-wing intellectual. She runs in those circles who look at white people in a disparaging way, the circles that routinely denigrate Christians. And the idea that we're paying for this, right. You are paying for this, your tax dollars go for this. Republicans, we have a majority right now. We shouldn't be funding outlets who are attacking Republicans. Catherine Marr and the entire staff at NPR.
Caught in the act. Media Research Center exposes PBS used far-right term 162 times, but far-left only 6 times in a 6-month period. NPR PBS CEOs claim they were unaware of the bias. When MRC tried to deliver the evidence, security kicked them out. Watch this.
That term was...
The CEOs of NPR and PBS claim they're unaware of their bias.
I do not believe we are politically biased. No, we are a nonpartisan organization.
Would it trouble you to hear that for 6 months, there was an analysis done on PBS's NewsHour from June to November of 2023, where they found that far right that term was used 162 times and far left was only used 6 times. Do you find that troubling?
I don't know the study that you're referring to, and I'd be very interested in seeing it and understanding how they came up with those numbers.
Media Research Center did a 6-month analysis.
The MRC has plenty of studies and documented evidence on the leftist bias of public broadcasting. So since they are blissfully unaware, we thought we'd bring them just a few documented instances of their media disinformation. Come along. Hi, I'm with the Media Research Center. We have a delivery for NPR's Catherine Marr. She says she's never seen any evidence of bias at the outlet, so we're here to help her out. We have a stack of a tower of 15 years of yellow journalism and media bias, and we would like to hand deliver it to her because it seems like she was really interested in seeing it. Yeah. I'm Justine with the Media Research Center, and we have a delivery for Catherine Marr. She said of left-wing media bias, of evidence that she didn't see. Thank you. I'm sorry? Catherine Marr. She's the CEO of NPR. Yeah, thank you so much. Good, thank you. I'm with the Media Research Center. Sure. We have a delivery for Catherine Marr. She says she hasn't seen any evidence of bias at the outlet. The Media Research Center has documented more than 15 years of bias.
You come out here. Take this out here, because I remember you last time when the protest was out here. You was the same person here.
The Media Research Center has reported 15 years of media bias spewed by taxpayer-funded PBS and NPR. Do you want to come over and count with me? We would like
I'm
to...
the director of security, so I need you guys to leave right now, okay?
Can we deliver this to her?
You to leave right
or an
now.
Assistant? Because she said she's very interested in seeing our evidence of bias. And we have it right here. We figured we'd just hand it to her. Hi, how are you? My name's Justine. I'm with the Media Research Center. PBS's CEO, Paula Kerger, she says she's very interested in seeing our evidence of the outlet's political bias. We're here to deliver that to her. We have a...
Okay, if you want to speak to someone, you will have to go online.
Okay, we can't hand deliver it to her because she said she's very interested.
You have to go online and contact someone from PBS. You cannot deliver anything to PBS.
She doesn't have an assistant because she just seemed very eager to see our evidence of the political bias. She doesn't have an assistant or someone who can take it for us. We can't hand deliver it to her because she seemed like she really wanted to see it.
And you can't record me, sir, because I'm not a part of PBS, so you can't record me.
Can a representative at least...
You can go on PBS.com and contact someone from HR and they can assist you, okay?
Oh, well, because we're right here.
You can go on PBS.com and someone can assist you. If you want to speak to somebody from JBG Smith, you're welcome to walk to the end of the hall. On the left is JBG Management Office.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. Thank you.
Have a good day.
I guess she wasn't very interested after all.
Oh, man. Brutal. Here's more. We got 2020 Sesame Street partners with CNN for a town hall to address racism during the BLM riots. One-sided narrative pushed on preschoolers. No mention of billions in damage or dozens killed during these mostly peaceful protests. Pure indoctrination of the youngest minds. Oh, yeah. Don't miss Coming Together, Standing Up to Racism with Big Bird, Bert and Ernie. Oh, here's the worst. 2017, NPR ran a story titled Cannibalism. It's Perfectly Natural. Featured an author describing eating human placenta. It smelled great. It didn't taste bad. This is what your tax dollars fund. Normalization of eating human flesh. The moral decay is deliberate. Yeah. Cannibalism is perfectly natural. A new scientific history argues. New history. So the evidence is absolutely overwhelming. From queer ducks to Triceratops, NPR and PBS have become woke propaganda machines, and President Trump is taking action with a $1 billion rescission package. It's time to end taxpayer funding for media that hates half the country. So the scam runs deep. NPR claimed doorway sizes are latent fatophobia. They aired segments on genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts and Triceratops. It's not parody, it's actual content they produce with your money. When brave conservatives call it out, well, the regime media cries censorship and diversity. But what they mean is shut up and pay. It's a circular scam. Democrats vote to fund PBR and NPR in return for those outlets spew anti-American, anti-family garbage, and then beg for more cash. Now, Trump is leading the charge to end the madness, so let them run their clown show if they want, but not on our dime. So I ask you, should taxpayers be forced to fund media that actively pushes values most Americans reject? And grab your Next News coffee mug the next time you're watching the show. You can sip some truth while you watch. It's linked down below at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Okay, what do we got going on here? Let's see, we have a new member. Nice. Darren. What's up, Darren? Welcome to the family. Now you have access to the Discord. You got access to behind-the-scenes footage and everything else we've got going on exclusively for our Next News members. Yes, let's go on to our next topic of the evening, the invisible cage. You've been lied to your entire life. What if everything that you have been taught about your health, your food, and your environment was deliberately engineered to control you? Well, we've uncovered a thread from Matrix Mysteries of explosive revelations about everyday facts that are actually elaborate deceptions. Who was Edward Bernays, and how did he manipulate your morning routine? What toxic industrial byproduct are you drinking daily because corporations rebranded it as healthy? And why were you taught to fear the same sun that sustained life for millions of years? And what was the COVID era really testing on the population? The invisible cage is all around you, and tonight we're going to give you the keys to break free. And while the invisible cage of lies keeps most Americans trapped in skyrocketing energy costs, I've discovered a secret weapon to fight back. As energy bills rise at historic rates, up 60% in just 2 years, this sophisticated device is helping tens of thousands slash their power bills. It stabilizes electrical currents and reduces dirty electricity while protecting your appliances. Unlike the matrix of lies about climate change and energy scarcity, this is a real solution that gives you control. Simply plug it into any wall outlet to help dramatically lower your consumption and escape the utility company's grip. Order now at don'twastepower.com with 65% off. Breakfast. It is the most important meal of the day. Start your day right with meat. Yep, look at that classic advertisement. So what are we going to find out? Well, here's a wonderful quote from Mark Twain. This thread opens up with, "The cage is invisible because you were born inside it and they taught you to love the bars." Here's a thread exposing everyday lies and propaganda we've been sold. Number 1. Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. Yes, they state here you don't need breakfast. You were just told you do. The idea that breakfast is the most important meal of the day is manufactured, not discovered. It began as a clever marketing campaign by Edward Bernays, hired to boost sales of bacon and sausages, not public health. Edward Bernays, the father of PR and propaganda. That's who he is.
Will lead to heart attack.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Most important meal of the day.
So we better eat breakfast.
A study from none other than Harvard University states that men who regularly skip breakfast have a 27% higher risk of suffering a heart attack.
This disease will lead to heart attacks and strokes. Heart attacks and strokes? Oh no, I skip breakfast. But I'm not worried because now I know there's no proof that skipping breakfast causes heart attacks or any other problem. That Harvard study, the authors actually concluded it remains unknown whether specific eating habits influence heart disease risk. There's no proof that skipping breakfast is harmful in any way.
It's been pushed.
it doesn't really hold water.
Nutritionist Ruth Kava points out that all the claims about breakfast being especially important are just unproven. That strokes and heart attack news persists because people who skip breakfast have more health problems. But that's partly because breakfast skippers are more likely to smoke and eat unhealthy foods. There is just no proof that skipping breakfast itself causes problems. I've skipped breakfast for years.
That's fine.
Really? Fine.
It works for you. You're not fat.
We're all different.
Yeah, we're all different. We have to do what's comfortable for us.
Another myth about breakfast is that skipping it may make you fat.
People who skip breakfast were more likely to be the big weight gainers over time.
The government claimed that just 9 years ago, saying not eating breakfast has been associated with excess body weight. But that's not true either, according to a new analysis.
They looked at a number of different studies, and they did not find that eating breakfast helped people lose weight.
So how did some researchers and our government get it so wrong? Partly because eating habits are hard to study. You can't follow test subjects for years, controlling what they eat. Most studies are based on what people say they ate, and people forget or lie. Also, we may have been suckered by studies funded by cereal makers. Of the 15 studies involving children mentioned by the government, 5 list funding from General Mills or Kellogg.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, they're the ones that are interested in having their products sold.
In fairness, not all cereal companies spin the results. One study funded by Quaker Oats found eating breakfast did not help people lose weight. This study was unfavorable to Quaker Oats, but Quaker Oats said, let's publish it.
Good for Quaker Oats.
But let's not count on companies to tell us the truth about nutrition. Study found people who didn't eat breakfast could lose weight by starting to eat breakfast. Kellogg's touted this on their cereal boxes.
Don't get your nutrition education from cereal boxes.
Are you okay?
Hi. But what if instead of a cereal box, it's America's First Lady on Sesame Street?
I am very tired and have no energy. Oh.
I think I know what would help.
What, Secret Service? Air Force One?
No, Grover, a healthy breakfast.
Now, there is data that shows
children who do not have decent nutrition during the course of the day have been shown to do better if they get some food into them in the morning. That's where that comes from.
It's valid.
It's appropriate.
Unfortunately, on Sesame Street, Michelle Obama doesn't just say children, she says everyone.
Grover, breakfast isn't just for first ladies. Everyone should have a healthy breakfast.
Oh, not me.
And much of the media push nonsense like claims that if you eat the right breakfast,
you are going to end up boosting your metabolism, losing the belly fat, restoring gut health.
Restoring gut health? There is so much bad information out there. The current consensus is eat breakfast if you're hungry.
Eat breakfast if you're hungry. If not, eat a little later.
I love John Stossel. Edward Bernays. Brighter breakfasts make brighter days. Eat your sausage and your bacon. Check this out.
Fast or fiction? Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Fiction. Your fast breaker is the most important meal of the day. Breakfast implies that you're eating that first thing in the morning, the first meal of the day. Well, in a way, the first meal of the day is still important if you're fasting. It's just coming after you break your fast. Breakfast is just ingrained in our minds as what we eat right when we get out of bed. And realistically, there are multiple studies that prove that's just not the case. You can lose just as much weight, you can be just as healthy, if not even more healthy, by skipping breakfast than you can if you eat it. Breakfast is simply something that was popularized by the cereal companies, and it makes perfect sense as to why. There's different benefits with different fast breakers at various times of the day. So one fast breaker might not be the perfect meal for morning, but it might be the perfect meal for breaking your fast in the afternoon. For some people, eating earlier in the day and then fasting the rest of the day is a terrific strategy. So to learn more about early time-restricted feeding, check out the video that we did with Dr. Peter Attia.
Oh, and then we have this. Fluoride. The lie you've been drinking for decades. And now RFK Jr. is calling for it to be removed. But of course, they're freaking out on CNN. What is in a glass of tap water? You can see this is from Earth 20 Genesis. Arsenic, contaminants, pesticides, nitrates, hormones, fluoride compounds, hexavalent chromium, lead, trihalomethanes, aluminum, pharmaceutical drugs.
CDC does not have any data.
But here we have the CNN admitting under oath that fluoride interferes with the functions of brain and body.
CDC agrees with NRC that it is apparent that fluorides have the ability to interfere with the functions of the brain and the body by direct and indirect means.
Yes, CDC in connection with the Intergovernmental Work Group.
It's correct to say that CDC does not have any data on the tolerable upper fluoride intake for neurotoxic effects for infants.
Yes.
Okay. And you see how the definition also includes toddlers.
Mm-hmm.
So CDC does not have any data on the tolerable upper fluoride intake for neurotoxic effects on toddlers.
That's true.
Okay. There's been 2 studies now from the Dr. Who's birth cohort in Mexico City, and there's been 2 studies from the Canadian cohort that Dr. Lancier has been working on. All 4 of these studies have found significant and large associations between early life fluoride exposure and adverse neurodevelopmental effects. CDC agrees with NRC that it is
Let's keep going. What are they saying over on CNN?
Definitely did not expect to be asking you about fluoride in water 2 days before the election. I was a little shocked that one of their closing arguments for Donald Trump was take the fluoride out of water.
He's going to have a big role in healthcare, a very big role. He knows it better than anybody.
We haven't talked about this at all in the last 700 days, but suddenly the thing that's been normal in this country for 80 years, it's like, we're going to get rid of that on day one.
In the tweet last night, on January 20th, the Trump White House will advise all U.S. water systems to remove fluoride from public water.
He also linked to a site that features outlandish health claims, conspiracy theories like HIV-like viruses are in vaccines, and widely debunked medical claims.
This is a tweet from you. Fluoride is an industrial waste associated with arthritis, bone fractures, bone cancer, IQ loss, neurodevelopmental disorders, and thyroid disease.
Of course, fluoride is in water has been known to keep your teeth healthy, prevent cavities.
It is safe. It's not toxic.
There are some rocks to be thrown, frankly, at RFK Jr. about this stuff, because some of it actually is just straight up dangerous.
23.5 million people thought it was pretty great. The news media hated it.
And Big Pharma profits over cures. The pharmaceutical industry isn't built to cure you. It's built to keep you dependent. Their focus is on high-cost treatments that manage symptoms, not solutions, that end the cycle of illness. Natural remedies and cures are often ignored, discredited, or outright suppressed, not because they don't work, but because they can't be patented or sold. The goal isn't healing, it's control, and it's worth billions. So what has changed in the last 30 years? Here's the disease or the disorder, and the increase since 1990. Look at that. Look at that. Unbelievable.
Perfectly fine.
Check
40
this out.
years ago, it was perfectly fine for a cholesterol level of 300. Now, has everyone got that? 300. What are you told today if you're 300? Last year in Maryland, I was talking to a lady in her 70s who was a pathologist. She said, I used to do all the testing on blood cholesterol levels. We considered a cholesterol level of 350 perfectly fine. What are you told today? It can't go over 190, am I right? What do they want you down to, 150? Do you know the fattiest organ in the body is the brain? And cholesterol is used to protect the brain against chemicals, heavy metals. We've been deceived. And the cholesterol-lowering medication, its side effect is dementia, muscle wasting, Alzheimer's, breast cancer, vitamin D deficiency, because our sex hormones are made from cholesterol. And if we don't have enough vitamin D, we can't get the minerals into our bones to have strong bones. So what have we got now? Osteoporosis. It's all about precision balance. We need that cholesterol. Framingham Heart Study, been going for 40 years, set up to prove that cholesterol causes heart disease, still hasn't 40 years later. But you know what it did show? People with high cholesterol levels don't get Alzheimer's. Now, do you need a moment's silence to digest that one?
Wow. And what do we have here? The 2030 food pyramid. Antidepressants, soy milk, bugs, seed oils, and microplastics. And, of course, the narrative. The narrative isn't about health. It's about compliance and control. While certain jabs can play a role, the aggressive push ignores natural immunity, nutrition, and lifestyle, all of which are critical to real, lasting wellness. Louis Pasteur.
Other mutations or other
Zuckerberg warning his staff. Infant deaths decrease 30%.
Linking various vaccines to all of those injuries.
And then we have this. Sunlight causes cancer. A fear-driven lie. You were told to fear the sun and slather on sunscreen. But the real danger might be what's in the bottle. Most commercial sunscreens are filled with toxic chemicals that disrupt hormones and cause oxidative stress. The truth, sunlight's essential. It fuels vitamin D production, regulates hormones, supports immune health. The anti-sun narrative has led to widespread deficiencies and chronic illness to sell a solution that creates more problems. Here's a picture. Yep. Kids enjoying the beach and the sun. Dates of introduction of suntan lotions and sunscreens and age-adjusted melanoma incident rates per 100,000. Look at that. Look at that increase. Skyrocketing over time.
Buy your sunscreen.
Well, in the U.S., 23 brands of sunscreen have been pulled from the market for cancer-causing properties. And if you think about sunscreen causing skin cancer, it just, you know,
In the
23
US,
brands.
The law about filter in skincare hasn't changed for over 20 years. And you know, there's like this.
What do you mean filter and skincare?
Yeah, the skincare, like the filter, the sunscreen hasn't been changed. The law hasn't been changed for over 20 years. They're still using the same filter. That's why when you come to Europe, buy your sunscreen better in Europe because they're using way more modern filters. But you know, in general, filters in skincare is not the greatest ingredient. So if you damage your skin constantly, retinol, glycolic, acid peel, you damage. So your skin is vulnerable, it's raw. Sun even penetrates harder, you get more pigmentation, more aging, it can cause cancer, inflammation. So you do so much damage that that everybody tells you use sunscreen 24/7. Of course because you destroyed your skin practically.
Right.
So it's actually better if you strengthen your skin, make what you got the best it possibly could be, you know, make it like away from inflammation, hydrate, nutrition, telomerase activation, exosomes.
Check out this graph. 25 years of skin malignancy. I'll zoom in for you. Look at that. 1993 versus 2017. Massive increase. Let's keep going. Climate change is not a crisis. It's a business model. The narrative has been hijacked to push carbon credits, green taxes, and sustainable products that do nothing but line pockets and expand control. Behind every panic headline is a political or financial agenda. The goal isn't to save the planet. It's to reshape economies, restrict freedoms, and sell you guilt-wrapped products under the illusion of virtue.
Time to 1996. The climate right now is no warmer than it's been many times throughout history. Our baseline is now the lowest that carbon dioxide has been in 600 million years. As far as temperature change, the IPCC's first report of 1992 showed that the medieval warm period was warmer than the present. Well, this didn't fit the narrative, so by the time the 1996 report came out, it was a completely contrived graph called the hockey stick. So what they did was they got rid of the medieval warm period and the Little Ice Age, and so instead of the graph doing this, they flattened it out, and then they added instrumental record on the end that looks like it's going way up. The point is that the people that are calling them out on it are not getting the media coverage. You know, because look, at this point there's billions of dollars going into the whole climate change narrative. The climate right now is no warmer than it's been.
Years and decade of highest U.S. state temperature records. Look at the map. The black is before 1920, and the red is the 2000s. Year and decade of highest U.S. state temperature records. So, highest state records. Wow. Keep going. USHCN fabricated and measured T-max since 1970.
Clear, Mr. Kenny's not a scientist.
This is a great clip. This is the Weather Channel, the former founder of the Weather Channel, who I actually interviewed many years ago. Now here, this is a clip back from when he interviewed on CNN.
He's the CEO of the Weather Channel now. I was the founder of the Weather Channel, not the co-founder.
And I'm glad you did, because I am addicted to the Weather Channel. I watch a lot of cable news.
Now, hold on just a minute. I'm not done. And CNN has taken a very strong position on global warming that it is a consensus. Well, there is no consensus in science. Science isn't a vote. Science is about facts. And if you get down to the hard, cold facts, there's no question about it. Climate change is not happening. There is no significant man-made global warming now. There hasn't been any in the past, and there's no reason to expect any in the future. There's a whole lot of baloney, and yes, it has become a big political point of the Democratic Party and part of their platform, and I regret it's become political instead of scientific, but the science is on my side.
I don't think we're going to come to a conclusion about the topic right here. What I do wonder,
I know we're not, because you wouldn't allow it to happen on CNN. But I'm happy that I got on the air and got a chance to talk to your viewers. Hello, everybody. There is no global warming.
What I do wonder is when you see the government, when you see NASA, when you see other institutions say that 97% of climate scientists agree, do you think they're making it up? What I don't understand is how you square that.
Well, that's a manipulated figure, and let me explain it to you. The government puts out about $2.5 billion directly for climate research every year. It only gives that money to scientists who will produce scientific results that support the global warming hypothesis of the Democrat Party position. So they don't have any choice. If you're going to get the money, you got to support their position. Therefore, 97% of the scientific reports published support global warming. Why? Because those are the ones the government pays for, and that's where the money is. It's real simple, but that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't make it true. That only makes it bought and paid for. The money goes in circles.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to try to refute you on the facts.
That's the truth.
So I'll simply say that the vast majority...
Please stand back from this issue and let the two sides be on the air.
Oh, wow. Let's keep going. The skincare scam, complexity sells, simplicity heals. Skincare industry thrives on manufactured insecurity, selling you 10-step routines, serums, miracle creams to convince you that healthy skin requires complexity and cash. In reality, most of it's unnecessary. Clean ingredients, a simple routine, a healthy lifestyle often do more than shelves full of overpriced products, but simplicity doesn't sell, so they sell you confusion instead. Eyeshadow, shampoo, lipstick, body lotion, deodorant, blush, fake tan.
I have the sugar in it that he has. The largest organ of elimination is the skin. Your skin has millions of little mouths. If you were to look at it under a microscope, you'd see all the tiny little holes. Dr. Kellogg, very famous doctor, he's of Kellogg's cornflakes fame, although I think that he would nearly die if he could see what Kellogg's cornflakes are made of today. It didn't quite have the sugar in it that he had in his. But he wrote many books on health. He was the medical director of one of the largest natural hospitals in America, Battle Creek, 1,000 beds. So he wrote many books on it. He called the pores of the human body millions of little sewers. Why did he call them millions of little sewers? Because they give off waste. They're an organ of elimination. Have you ever had a white shirt on, especially on a hot day when you're perspiring a lot, and the collar is brown? What's the brown? It's dirt. Where did the dirt come from? Inside of you. So the skin is a very effective organ of elimination. To be an effective organ of elimination, it has certain needs. It requires you to allow your skin to breathe. Is two sadly very common diseases today called psoriasis and eczema. Eczema is usually the name given for a baby or a child, and psoriasis is usually the name given to the skin disease in the latter years. When I say latter years, I don't mean the elderly years. I'm probably meaning latter past teenage years. So getting into the 20s, 30s, 40s, it's often called psoriasis. And I've seen many people suffer extremely with this. And again, we need to know why. Because remember Newton's third law of motion, that to every action there is an equal and an opposite reaction. So as I go through this presentation, looking at some of the causes, I'm going to be using a couple of stories of people that have come across my path and the factors that came together to cause their psoriasis. And I'm also going to be, as I weave through these stories, show you how they totally conquered it. Did you hear that? Every case of psoriasis, eczema that I have come across, they have been able to conquer it. But I think what we'll do is we'll begin with the babies. So if a baby has psoriasis, I begin to investigate. I talked to the mother and I say to the mother, is the baby bottle fed? And if the baby is bottle fed, I inquire as to the type of milk the baby's on. And if the mother says it's on a cow's milk formula, then my suggestion is to change over to a goat's milk formula. I don't know about other countries, but I know in Australia you can buy some very nice goat milk formulas. In fact, I think 3 of my grandchildren were raised on the goat milk formulas, so you can get some very good ones. So go over to the goat milk formula, because an allergy to dairy is one of the big factors in the skin diseases. And if the mother is breastfeeding, then I inquire to the mother if the mother's having dairy. Another factor can be wheat, the hybridized wheat. We looked at that in an earlier lecture, how the wheat was hybridized in the 1950s. So it created a structure in the protein or the gluten part of the wheat that is very, very difficult to fully break down for the body. And if it's not fully broken down by the body, it gets into the blood, then antibodies are created and you get this whole reaction in the body, and it's one of the contributing factors to eczema.
Let's keep going. Part 8. Money can buy happiness to an extent, they say. One of the greatest lies ever told is that money doesn't matter. The myth was pushed to keep you content with less while the wealthy continued stacking resources, freedom, and access. The truth, money changes everything. It buys time, security, health, and choices, all core ingredients of happiness. It's not about greed, it's about freedom, and they don't want you to have it. And he has this clip here from, appears to be Andrew Tate. Let's hear.
So the point is that the biggest psyop that the wealthy elites and the people who win at life ever committed was to convince you that money doesn't buy happiness. If money doesn't buy happiness, why do rich people never give their money away?
They all want their money.
They all want their money.
What's that Biggie song? The more money we come across, the more problems. He kept all his money. Exactly. He loved money. He didn't give it away.
Money is like water, right? It won't make you happy in and of itself, but if you go without it for very long, you're going to start really wanting it. You're still going to really still want, you're going to start really wanting a drink. So the point is that if you go without money, it's all you think about. Now, when you have money in and of itself, if you have money, but you're still fat like Ethan, yeah, you're going to be unhappy. But money is an important part of life. And don't let people who are hyper successful in every sphere, don't let people like me and Tristan who are in fantastic physical shape, fantastic financial shape, with good brotherhood, with a good network, living a fantastic life. Don't sit there and look at us and go, there must be something they don't like. Instead go, their life is perfect and I want that. Because the second one will motivate you. The first one allows you to cope and make excuses to not try. You have to try harder or you're never going to win.
And the truth is we talk in an abrasive way sometimes and we put our message across in a very strange way. But I really like the messages and people say, Tristan, you have inspired me.
Tristan, I have my first kickboxing fight coming up. You have inspired me. This is what you were doing when you were young. I want to learn how to fight. I want to be strong and fit when I'm older. I don't want to look like Ethan. I don't want to look like...
Completely.
So it's cool. I'm trying to inspire.
We love when people win. And what we do is we live by example, right? We're absolute winners, and we love when people win. And when you're a winner, you want others to win. There's plenty of room up here at the top, gentlemen. There's plenty of room.
Yep.
You need to look at our lives and be inspired by it. If you're looking at our lives and trying to find some stupid excuse why our life is bad, like seeing us surrounded by beauty queens on a yacht in Cannes and then going, well, they're misogynist,
or they must have paid them. I don't pay women. Shut the fuck up.
They just want to come on our boat. We're famous and cool. The biggest psyop that the wealthy elites and the people...
Say what you want about Andrew Tate. That message right there, it makes sense. So I picked out this thread. It showed up in my feed, and I wanted to share with you because I just found it to be absolutely profound. So make sure I just retweeted it, reposted it on my X account, and I'm following Matrix Mysteries now, so make sure you give them a follow if you want deeper dives and exclusive content. That was pretty profound. So the climate change narrative, it's not a crisis. It's a business model designed to justify global government and financial control. The beauty industry, they created the problem, then sold you the cure. Money doesn't buy happiness. Of course it does. They said that so you stay docile while they build castles. The invisible cage is reinforced every day by TV, schools, pills, ads, and digital chains. They trained you to mock people who try to wake you up, but now you know the truth. The bars are real, the trap is live, and your compliance is the fuel. So I ask you this. Which of these everyday lies has impacted your life the most dramatically? And how will you break free? Remember to support independent truth-telling with our Next News gear. It's available right now in the Next News merch shop. What do you guys think about that? I saw it last night, and I said, Todd, man, we should run this. I love this thread. I found it to be absolutely profound. So I wanted to share it with you guys. I thought it was interesting. Let's keep going. We got our final, let's see, we're talking about, the Harvard thread. Yes, we're going to get into what's happening with Harvard. Oh boy. This should be interesting. The financial earthquake just hit America's most prestigious university. And the shockwaves are spreading across the entire educational establishment. President Trump has taken action that Harvard administrators never thought possible, and the dollar amount involved will leave you speechless. What connection did we discover between this Ivy League institution and George Soros? How many billions sit in Harvard's endowment while they demand taxpayer money? And what statement did the university president make that reveals their complete contempt for American values? Well, the ivory towers are trembling and their funding fortress crumbles. And tonight we're revealing the full scope of this historic academic reckoning. So are you ready to face colder weather, even though summer is on its way? Yes, the cold nights are still here. While Harvard faces Trump's funding freeze, Americans will spend more heating than usual, a staggering $941 average. Just as Trump is cutting Harvard's access, you need to trim your heating budget. That's why I rely on this compact but powerful mini heater that warms any room instantly. No preheating required. While elite universities waste billions, this energy-efficient device delivers customized comfort without skyrocketing costs. It includes overheat protection, adjustable heat levels, and operates silently. So take control of your comfort at staywarmnow.com with up to 60% off and free shipping today. So let's jump into this. The press secretary was on fire earlier today asking about American taxpayer dollars.
Federal agents.
Why do Ivy League schools get so much federal funding?
It's a very good question, and it's a question the president has obviously raised in his discussions and negotiations with not just Harvard, but also Columbia and many other Ivy League institutions. We have the anti-Semitism task force, which the president promised and delivered on. The anti-Semitism task force is across the government, representatives from various federal agencies who meet on a weekly basis to discuss the question that you just raised. And I think a lot of Americans are wondering why their tax dollars are going to these universities when they are not only indoctrinating our nation's students, but also allowing such egregious illegal behavior to occur.
Why do? Here's the press secretary talking about how the president made it clear to Harvard.
When it comes to Harvard, the president's position on this is grounded in common sense, in the basic principle that Jewish American students, or students of any faith, should not be illegally harassed and targeted on our nation's college campuses. And we unfortunately saw that illegal discrimination take place on the campus of Harvard. There are countless examples to prove it, particularly with the stunning confession by then Harvard President Claudine Gay, who said that bullying and harassment depended on the context. The president at that time made it clear to the American public he was not going to tolerate illegal harassment and anti-Semitism taking place in violations of federal law. So the president made it clear to Harvard, follow federal law, no longer break Title VI, which was passed by Congress to ensure no student can be discriminated against on the basis of race, and you will receive federal funding. Unfortunately, Harvard has not taken the president or the administration's demands seriously. All the president is asking, don't break federal law, and then you can have your federal funding. I think the president is also begging a good question. More than $2 billion out the door to Harvard when they have a more than $50 billion endowment. Why are the American taxpayers subsidizing a university that has billions of dollars in the bank already? And we certainly should not be funding a place where such grave anti-Semitism exists.
Oh, and if you need an example, let's take a look at this. 22 hours ago, this was posted by Libercrap. Their only quote, Harvard has fallen. Seems pretty one-sided to me, right? Let's keep going. The rabbit hole. Americans are not obligated to subsidize institutions with their taxpayer dollars. If Harvard refuses to abide by the Civil Rights Act and remove its race preference programs, then they deserve to lose taxpayer funding. Here's Harvard University posting, the university will not surrender its independence or relinquish its constitutional rights. Neither Harvard nor any other private university can allow itself to be taken over by the federal government. That's how they see this. And the president and his administration freezing $2.2 billion in federal grants to Harvard after the private university defied demands relating to campus diversity programs, protest regulations, and hiring practices. Harvard says it will not surrender. Here is the Daily Signal. America's Victor David Hansen says America's elite universities are violating the spirit of the U.S. Constitution. Last week, the Trump administration sent a letter to Harvard University President Alan Garber threatening to revoke federal grants unless the administrators took steps to discontinue its policies. Check this out.
These are hotbeds, especially the elite campuses, of indoctrination, and they're polling about 35% of the approval rate of the American people, with 90 to 95% of their law or their humanities faculty openly Democratic and left-wing. There is no diversity. They have separate graduations predicated on race, separate spaces, but separate dormitories. What am I getting at? The Trump administration wants to call them to account. And they have a lot of levers that the universities, apparently like Princeton or Columbia, don't seem to take seriously. They're dependent on millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars of federal money. Why, I don't know, because they have multi-billion-dollar endowments. But nonetheless, they're predicated, their budgets, on federal monies. But the Trump administration says, you're not obeying the First or the Fourth or Fifth or Sixth Amendments. You're not guaranteeing the Bill of Rights to your own student. You're allowing anti-Semitism in the year 2025. As if it's the 19th century or something. What are you doing? And the universities seem to ignore it. Well, we'll stop people wearing masks. They don't. We'll stop anti-Semitism. They don't. Why? They seem, first of all, to be indebted to foreign students. We have about 300,000 Chinese students and maybe 250,000 from the Middle East that pay full tuition. And they're a powerful bloc on campus. In addition, we have billions of dollars from Mideast sheikdoms like Qatar, but also China that endow professorships. And you give $1 billion, you can get 100 or more, 150 fully endowed professors for a Middle East student department that can be very influential, training this country's next generation of diplomats and civil servants and politicians. But the university should be very careful. They have a lot of exposure. Already the National Institute of Health says, we know what you're doing. You're on individual grants from the government, you're charging 50, 60%. That's not going to happen. 15% tops. That's going to cut hundreds of millions of dollars out of their budget. Now the Congress is saying, we know what you're doing. You're not nonpartisan. You're not non-ideological. You're going to pay a tax, an income tax on your huge endowment income. That could be 100, 150 million in some cases. Now the administration says, you're not defenders of civil rights, you're offenders. And we are going to cut back grants to you because you don't follow the Bill of Rights. You do not guarantee freedom of speech. You do not follow civil rights statutes and make race and gender and sexual orientation incidental rather than essential to these students' personas. And you give them preferences based on their superficial appearance. In other words, what I'm getting at is they are violating the spirit and the letter of the Constitution. These are hotbeds.
Wow. Yeah, it's all coming to an end. Harvard University President Alan Garber, no government, regardless of what parties in power, should dictate what private universities can teach. Let's hear what Fox had to say.
It reads. Welcome back. Breaking just moments ago, Harvard's lawyers say that the university will not comply with the Trump administration's demands in a brand new letter. It reads in part, quote, Harvard is not prepared to agree to demands that go beyond the lawful authority of this or any administration. Sandra, the administration had been threatening to pull federal funding from a lot of these Ivy League schools if they didn't get their ducks in order when it comes to fighting anti-Semitism on campus. They're not bluffing. They've already pulled the funding. So Harvard's essentially saying, are they trying to call a bluff here?
Yeah. So I imagine there will be a quick response, and we'll have that for you when it happens.
President Trump's administration announced it was freezing $2.3 billion in federal funding to Harvard. Reuters reporting it 15 hours ago, after the university rejected numerous demands from the Trump administration. Here is Michael Rappaport. The hate and discrimination on Harvard, the rest of the universities, was towards literally any other group of people. This low-life politician would be up in arms. This guy, this is wild because he's totally leftist.
Blacks, UPenn, Columbia, Harvard, the highest of the highest Harvard. If the that has been going on at these college campuses, these universities, and they were talking about blacks, Greeks, Spanish, Asians. Oh, sorry, Harvard already discriminated against Asians. If this is going on about any other group of people, Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the rest of you be in head over heels calling for an intifada at Harvard University, and that's cool, and Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders, and the rest, each and every one of you has the audacity to politicize this shit, politicizing this shit, defund that dump. Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, defund them all. These are supposed to be smart people, and they're ran by dum-dums. And you got people supporting them simply because they don't like Trump. It ain't right what the has been going on in these college campuses. It is not right. And people support that shit. Harvard's staying strong. They're being smart. Harvard is doing the right thing. They're not bowing down. Harvard, Columbia, UPenn. Anybody that supports this shit. Anybody. I don't give a who you are, what you did, president, senator, governor. You scumbag. If this was black people, this is people that like dogs, cats, none of it would be acceptable. With Jews and Zionists, it's cool. The out of here. UPenn.
Oh, man. Yeah, he didn't hold back, did he? Here is Elise Stefanik with Sean Hannity supporting President Trump's decision to defund Harvard.
Risks, sadly. Today, Harvard announced that it will defy President Trump's order to cut DEI programs and expel pro-Hamas protesters, putting the school's federal funding at risk. Sadly, this is not the first time schools like Harvard sided with, a designated terror organization like Hamas. You might recall. Take a look.
At MIT, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate MIT's code of conduct or rules regarding bullying and harassment? Yes or no?
If targeted at individuals not making public statements. If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman. Anti-Semitic rhetoric.
And is it anti-Semitic rhetoric?
Anti-Semitic rhetoric, when it crosses into conduct that amounts to bullying, harassment, intimidation, that is actionable conduct, and we do take action.
So the answer is yes, that calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
It does not depend on the context. The answer is yes, and this is why you should resign. These are unacceptable answers across the board.
All right, here with reaction, New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Would you have gotten the same answer if it had to do with transgender or LGBTQ plus or a race issue? I tend to think not, Congresswoman.
Of course not, Sean. And think about that. That hearing occurred during the Biden administration. And what did we see from Joe Biden? Zero action to protect Jewish students on campuses and to hold these universities accountable. 2 of those 3 university presidents were forced to resign, and there was an additional 4 from other universities that were forced to resign. But President Trump correctly made the correct decision to defund these institutions. If you look at what they required for Harvard, it was protection of Jewish students. It is making sure that we are getting rid of DEI, which by definition is anti-Semitic. And instead, Harvard is acting more entitled than ever. President Trump made the direct and correct decision to defund to the tune of over $2 billion. These higher ed institutions that have fundamentally lost their way. U.S. taxpayer dollars should never be propping up anti-Semitism, and the vast majority of the American people support President Trump and support the work that we are doing in Congress to hold these higher ed institutions accountable.
Okay. If as a country we want to help kids get through a local community college that's relatively inexpensive, or maybe a trade school, I think American taxpayers would be far more accepting of that. Why should one taxpayer dollar go to these elite institutions and so-called institutions of education when they have billions and billions and billions of dollars in endowments? Why don't they pay for their own scholarships? Why are they relying on, hardworking carpenters and nurses and bricklayers and everybody in between, landscapers, to pay for somebody's Harvard education?
You are spot on, Sean, and the vast majority of the American people do not want to prop up these institutions. I myself am a first-generation college graduate. I graduated from Harvard. That's clearly not the achievement. The achievement is maintaining my common sense and my conservatism and my strong values with which I was raised in, and strong moral leadership. There is so much opportunity across this country for the next generation, whether it's in the workforce, whether it's in this manufacturing renaissance that is going to happen under President Donald J. Trump, whether it's community colleges or trade schools, vocational programs. That is a pathway to success. Higher education has fundamentally lost its way, and it's increasingly out of touch, and the tuition rates go higher and higher. So we need to defund across the board, and President Trump is rightly holding these schools accountable.
Wall Street apes. American universities are not what you think, and intertwined with George Soros. Mike Benz says Harvard Endowment and George Soros Quantum Fund were given basically no competitor closed auction bid on the sale of those formerly government-held assets. What?
$1 billion. I think that their universities are just, professors teaching, teaching students about a particular topic. They don't understand that, for example, that the Harvard Endowment has made a huge amount of its $50 billion by working with the U.S. State Department in foreign regime change operations. I mean, this came out in the 1990s when Jeffrey Sachs was the head of the Harvard Endowment for International Development, was personally petitioning USAID for something like $500 million to administer the economic privatization of Russia during that shock therapy period. The Harvard Endowment and George Soros's Quantum Fund were given basically a no competitor closed auction bid on the sale of those formerly Soviet government held assets, and Harvard is getting billions of dollars in grants in total from the U.S. government while they're doing favors to them. The same thing with Columbia University. The same thing with Stanford University. Americans think that the universities are something that they are. I don't want to say that they're not, but that they're only partially. They think that they're universities.
So what's Harvard's response to losing billions? They say they won't surrender their independence. Independence from what? Federal law? Reality? They've got Soros tentacles in their endowment, controlling former Soviet assets through Harvard shell fronts. This is not a university. It's a globalist launch pad. At least Stefanik's right. Taxpayers do not want to fund anti-Semitism or the systematic shredding of America's foundation. The walls are closing in, and the universities know it. They violated the Constitution, weaponized education, and laughed at the people footing the bill. But now Trump is slamming the door. In Yale, Princeton, Columbia, your turn is coming. So here's my question, everyone watching. Drop a comment. Should all universities that promote anti-Semitism and hate America lose every federal dollar they receive? I want to hear your response. And make sure you support the Next News Network with a t-shirt or a hat from our merch shop. Link down below at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. All right. What's up? You guys are having some fun in the chat room tonight. I can see that. Well. And Brian, I want you to change the chat room on the right side here back to the way it used to look. I like it better. It's easier to see. I like the segmentation it used to have, so please change it back. Thank you. You don't have to do it tonight, but you can do it at a later date. Okay. What's going on in the chat room? You guys are having so much fun. I'm sitting here going through all the news. You guys are just having a big old party without me. Well, really, I mean, I'm part of the party, I guess. All right, let's check in with what's going on the real news front. What is this? I don't even understand. I don't even want to know. That's just sick. Biden, in his first speech since leaving office, says Trump is threatening Social Security. Wow. The King of Kings is out. I guess it's a must-see movie. If you've read the book, you know how it ends. Big surprise for a delivery driver. Okay. Federal judge ordering the administration Tuesday to reopen the spigots for climate and clean energy funding programs, ruling against President Trump's funding pause. I'm sure they're going to push back on that. Huge shout out to President Trump and his administration, also to President of El Salvador for doing what's fair and right. Democrats are losing it. There was a story. Let's see if I can find out what's trending. How do I find trending? Trending. Climate activists. The science is settled. Cool. That means we can defund your research since it's settled. Climate activists. Okay. Where is? How do I find? Oh, the search maybe. Okay. Pentagon advisor Caldwell escorted out over leak allegations. Pentagon advisor Dan Caldwell been escorted from the Pentagon after being identified as one of the leakers. Chinese officials' peasant remark stirs U.S. social media. Newsom requests $2.8 billion to fund expanded Medi-Cal program. Gavin Newsom's asking for a $2.8 billion bailout for California's Medicaid program after he opened it up to illegals. What do you know? Trump celebrates Navy football team's victory at the White House. This was cool. Look at all those guys, man. How cool. And then there was something else I saw about... Yeah, Benny Johnson. 4 hours ago. Trump signs an executive order ending all Social Security benefits for criminal aliens. I can't believe this had to be done. President Trump learns how to say MAGA in Spanish. This should be good.
America. Mr. President, I'd like to teach you how to say let's make America great again in Spanish. So, vamos a hacer América grande otra vez.
America grande otra vez.
Mr. President, I'd like to teach you how to say let's make America great again in Spanish. So, vamos a hacer América grande otra vez.
America grande otra vez.
Grande otra vez. América grande otra vez.
America grande.
Vamos a hacer América grande otra vez.
America grande otra vez.
AOC's record fundraising fuels 2028 presidential speculation. Oh, yeah, you know this is coming. And there it is. AOC just said, CNN just said AOC will be president in 2028.
Powers. It's Donald Trump. Well, what happens the next 4 years from now when a Democrat is in office? What happens when President Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez decides to use these same powers that the president has now expanded by simply just pretending not to pay attention to the rulings of the court? It is true that when...
There you go. Letitia James, there was something about Letitia James. I just saw... Let's see. Letitia James. Okay, there it is. New York Attorney General Letitia James declares Virginia home her principal residence. Let's see what the latest is here. Trump administration refers New York Attorney General Letitia James for potential prosecution over alleged mortgage fraud. Well, certainly I can get behind that. Okay, let's close out the show, guys. I love you. You guys are awesome. Member, who's been a member for a commander? Villain, member for 4 months at commander level. What's up? All together now. America Grande otra vez. Absolutely. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, what an explosive broadcast we've had today. Day 85 of President Trump's historic second term, and the globalist empire is crumbling before our eyes. Here is a live look at Washington, D.C. There is the Washington Monument and the White House right there on your screen. Live look. And of course, we started with Donald Trump's economic shockwave, the $18 trillion transfer from American workers to foreign powers, now been exposed. Navarro confirmed it. Hassett revealed 130 countries now begging to negotiate, and inflation is plummeting. The tariff strategy is working, and the globalists who engineered America's decline for decades in full panic mode. Then we witnessed the incredible Trump-Bukele alliance declaring war on border chaos. Over 11,088 known murderers crossed our border under Biden, and now Trump is sending them packing. Border crossings down 99.1%, MS-13 terrorists getting deported, and the media is melting down because they can't defend the criminals anymore. And then, of course, we broke the matrix with the groundbreaking movement to draft Elon Musk for California governor. It's not a campaign. It's a hostile takeover of a failed state. Imagine Elon bringing Doge-style election integrity, solving homelessness with Tesla engineering, and exposing the water scam that's held California hostage for decades. And Trump's trade war is flipping the global order upside down. $7 trillion in private capital committed to reshoring U.S. production. NVIDIA investing billions in domestic AI supercomputers and American manufacturing roaring back to life. This is the greatest industrial comeback in history. Then we witnessed a media bloodbath as Trump destroyed CNN on live television. The loaded questions about MS-13 terrorists backfired spectacularly. Dana Bash had to deny CNN hates America. And of course, we took a look back at Jim Acosta's historic clash with President Trump. Yes, the fake news empire is collapsing. And the NPR PBS scam has now been officially exposed. Taxpayer-funded propaganda outlets pushing queer clownfish and drag queens on your children are finally getting defunded. Let them run their own clown show, but not on our dime. Then we rip the mask off the invisible cage of lies you've been fed your entire life, from breakfast myths to fluoride, from Big Pharma's business model to climate change fear-mongering. The Matrix is breaking and you are waking up. And finally, the Harvard crackdown. Trump unleashed hell on the Ivy League, freezing $2.3 billion in funding on those globalist indoctrination centers. The era of taxpayer-funded, elite-run thought control is over. So, folks, we do need your support to keep bringing you the raw, unfiltered truth. So please donate at the link in the description. Every dollar helps us fight back against the censors trying to silence us. A huge thank you to everyone who sent in Super Chats and Rumble Rants tonight. $102 and 14 new members. You guys are the backbone of this movement. And don't forget to visit our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com for exclusive Next News swag to show off your favorite news source. So thank you, everyone, for joining the Raw feed today. The storm is here. The truth is winning, and we'll see you on the next broadcast. God bless America.